The Moscow Patriarchate presently a member of the World Council of Churches?
Yes, it is.
Is the World Council of Churches an ecumenical organization?
Yes.
The anathema of 1983, does it preclude participation in the World Council of Churches?
Yes.
Is the Moscow Patriarchate withdrawing from the World Council of Churches prior to the execution of the Act of Canonical Communion?
I don't believe so. No.
What is the effect of an anathema?
Well, that someone is considered to be outside of the church, or anathematized, that is, to be proclaimed to be outside of the church, the borders of the church, teachings of the church.
Now, you just testified that the anathema of 1983 said that you're outside of the church. You also said that the anathema would prohibit participation in the World Council of Churches. You also testified that the Moscow Patriarchate is presently a member of the World Council of Churches and will remain so. Those concepts seem to be contradictory.
Well, not exactly, because as you referred to yourself earlier, in the Act, it talks about all previous declarations or resolutions to be ineffective after the signing of the Act.
Okay. So
that would, in effect, take care of the anathema or the resolution of 1983.
So in other words, the anathema of 1983 would no longer be in effect after the signing of the Act of Canonical Communion?
In regards to the Moscow Patriarchate, yes.
Okay, how about with regards to the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia?
Well, heck, we'll anathematize ourselves.
With the prayers of Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God of mercy, on us and save us. Amen. Good evening for those new here. My name is Father Joseph Swaden. I've worked in Orthodox Apologetics since 1998 and the founder of NFTU, True Orthodox and Ecumenical News, since 2004. We've been in the apologetic space on Facebook since 2016 and on YouTube since 2018. And if you appreciate what we do here, please like and subscribe. Today we do our live Q&A session where you can get your questions answered live, as well as member-requested video reviews. If you want to issue challenges, jump on the stream to tell us why we're wrong. That's always been kind of what we do here on Sundays. So looking forward to another one. Let's see here, and just to finish up here, just to clarify, if you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, you can click the link at the top of the YouTube chat inside the X chat. I'll be taking super chats from the YouTube chat. If you want your question or comment without super chatting, I'll answer it, but you might miss it if I don't put it out. Okay, it looks like today we've got our first comment from Orthodox Traditionalists saying, "What's up, 5 true Orthodox people in a trailer in Florida?" Yeah, I always get a kick out of that. Yeah, it's probably going to be part of our year in review. Definitely an interesting time for those wondering what the words hard reset mean. It is that occasionally we kind of need to start all over in explaining what true Orthodoxy is to new people, what true Orthodox Christianity is, what is Orthodox Christianity, kind of like go through the basics and work through them backwards, because we get new people on the show all the time. We get new people watching, and they kind of want answers. So we're going to try to shoot off, some of the basic answers that we can give while going through some other stuff. Before I get to that, though, I should mention I was spending a bit of time reading this book. And this book is called In Their Own Words, The Private Letters of St. Philaret of New York and Bishop Gregory Grabe. Put by Orthodox Traditionalist Publications. It was edited by Subdeacon Victorious. It's actually fantastic. It's a year-by-year summary of the correspondence between Metropolitan St. Philaret and Bishop Gregory Grabe of blessed memory. It's a really good counter to a lot of the propaganda that you see on, say, for example, right now it's mostly on X and to some degree on YouTube, where new calendarists are trying to reframe Orthodox history in a way that benefits them. And it can work for somebody who's really uninformed. But when you read books like this, you start to realize that the ethos, the thinking of the hierarchs of True Orthodox bishops, etc., and traditional-minded bishops trying to resist the current of the age is so different in terms of decency and mentality and dignity that you don't see among, for example, angry ortho bros pretending to be trads online. They should read this. It might help them grow up. And it's a shame that fewer people don't know about the history of the church. Again, I'm not to do a big promo here for myself, but I am putting together and mostly done with a 20th century True Orthodox history to explain precisely what caused the division, because a lot of people do not understand this. There are some very kind-minded people in the modern era who think that this was all a semantic problem. The problem is it's not a semantic problem. If you look here, I'm just taking a look here. Like, this is hiddengalleries.eu. I'm gonna put a link to this just because it is funny. Not funny, but important. What's funny was what I just read, which was I'm one of those people in Florida, and he knows there's more than 5. That to Compromise says if you can find vegan donut recipes online. I haven't tried any yet. I haven't either, but I haven't cooked regular donuts either, so I can't say that. I can be helpful there. Reader John there. May God bless the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, John. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at these, kind of all these pictures. Like, this is like a Romanian village. If you take a look here, just an early True Orthodox, Romanian community, and there's like lots of cool pictures on this. It gets depressing to some degree when you look at some of this stuff. I mean, here's a pic. We've seen some of these. I used this in a debate once, but this was like a village being arrested. Because they were trying to protect they were trying to protect their community, their priests, etc. It's sad and it's embarrassing and it's shameful. Like, this is a picture of the church, which is kind of nice, which is cool. But looking at the memories of what people went through. So it's hard for new people to this, for people who are just kind of learning about this. They think, well, maybe it's just something we can work out. And they don't understand there's decades of state violence that was promoted against us and against all our people around the world. And that this is something that we are dealing with at another level. Let me see here. Orthodox Traditionalist says, Death to Compromise also says, I've found that one before, great picks. Yes. Orthodox Traditionalist says, speaking of Romania, someone just translated and sent me the Kathas to St. Quiqueria. I'm going to put it in a small booklet for everyone. Much appreciated. I've actually been looking for that for a very long time. So it's just, this is a confiscated photograph of some True Orthodox nuns in Romania back in 1939. And so, it's the history is long and painful. I mean, when you think about it, just looks like an innocent picture of nuns, but this is being used as state's evidence against them. So, that's something that I was thinking of talking about. Someone, Eater of Bug says is Hakna Orthodox, and I would say at this point, considering their support of the Yugoslavia heresy, no, they're not. And they're also not very big either. It's basically being held together by reader missions. Alexander Shirkus asks, do you think it would be heretical to say that both the World Orthodox and the moderate Old Calendarists have grace until a pan-Orthodox or ecumenical council to condemn the heresy of the new calendar? Well, first off, there are no more moderate Old Calendarists. Like, that's a fantasy. Like, a lot of new calendarists will pick up on like the work of like, say, like Metropolitan Cyprian of blessed memory, and the Synod and Resistance, not realizing the Synod and Resistance doesn't exist anymore. It folded into the greater True Orthodox community under Archbishop Callinicos of Athens. And that wasn't recent. That was like 11 years ago. So there are no more moderate, quote unquote, old calendarists. The closest you get to a moderate old calendarist is me, and I flat out say that new calendarists don't have grace. So don't know. And like, yeah, people can say that's mean, but that's exactly how any new calendarist bishop views us. Like, that shouldn't be surprising. This is, if you notice, the level of anger and vitriol that's thrown against us by people like, like Jay Dyer and his followers. It's because of the fact that they don't believe we have grace, or if they do believe it, they're in some wacky state that their bishops aren't in. Their bishops certainly don't recognize us, so why would we recognize them? Let me see here. Bob says, DTC, interesting post on Trotsky's granddaughter. I have not seen that. Thanks. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, Bob says it's a big club, I guess. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but even a lot of the faithful who came in looking for the true church aren't in it, because they're dealing with bishops that ultimately are compromised and not honest. Cherry Rodriguez says, Father Bless, can you please approve my profile on St. Euphrosinos Cafe and the Meek? Thank you. Sent an email to administrator. Okay, give me a moment. Remember, folks, anytime I'm on is cafe time. If you're trying to get registered at euphrosinoscafe.com, let me know in the comments. I am going in right now to put that through, so give me just a moment. And if people are upset about my delays because I'm doing multiple things, it's important to understand that what I try to do here is maintain a tiny little brain trust on YouTube, and part of that is our website, NFTU. Part of that is the cafe as an admin there, and part of that is this channel right here. So let me see if I can find this one. Hopefully it's in the last 100. We are constantly under attack by bots from the Russia and Ukraine area. So it is possible that real people get unfortunately mixed in. So my job is to find them and get them on the cafe. So it's a very exclusive club, the cafe, and if you're not in it, you should be, but it'll take me a while to get there. Okay, so not seeing it in the first 100 people. Give me a moment. Aha, found it. It may sound strange that I'm going like through a list as opposed to finding. The find command works. Hold on. Bada bing. Okay, hold on. Matushka Stephanie. Welcome, Matushka Stephanie. How goes it? God bless you.
Good evening, Father. Father bless.
May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. How are you doing, Matushka?
I'm doing well. I have a question for you. Kind of a general question, and then a comment that maybe you can speak on.
Okay.
So my question is, being that I'm kind of assuming here, but most people who are Orthodox, the rest of their family is not Orthodox. So we're in the Advent fasting right and stuff right now. What do you do when it's secular Christmas and you go to family for Christmas and they're eating everything that you shouldn't be eating? What do you do?
That's a tough one because, on the one hand, like, for example, when you're dealing with heterodox, you can lead the prayer, so they're praying with you. But when it comes to the food, yeah, there's not a good solution to that.
Maybe just don't go.
Not going is the easiest thing. If they're understanding, you can say, before dinner, you can let them know, I'm on a fast. Do you have anything that's not like meat, cheese, or so derived? I mean, if you really want to be with family, they might have like mashed potatoes, but they even sometimes mix milk in that. But
sure.
I think that would be forgiven by Father
Maybe
Confessor.
you just bring your own food. That might be an option.
That's an option too. You could do that. You could, if you want to like play the role of the vegan, you could like bring a tofurkey and be like, anyone can have some, and then basically you've got the whole thing to yourself. But those are the solutions that basically I would come up with. Is the one is the easiest is don't go. The second easiest, if you really want to go, is to mention you have dietary restrictions. Phrase it any way you want so that they can accommodate that. So that would be the way I would handle it. I mean, I wouldn't be yelling, "It's Saint Spiridon's Day today" or anything. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't do it.
No.
Let me think here. So did you? I don't know. Did that help, or I don't know how helpful that was.
That gives me another option. I didn't really have to worry about it too much because I don't have any family around here. But my stepson just moved from Arizona back here to Pennsylvania, so I'm going over there for Christmas Eve. So
Okay. Well, that sort of kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I mean, he is your stepson, so you can be like, son, I have these food issues. So I'd really appreciate it if you took care of it. And I mean, he probably will, because it's different. You have you have a maternal authority in this particular case, which allows you to make more requests.
Good point.
It's not like you're showing up to your great aunt's house and it's like, hey, we eat this like this. It's totally different. So yeah, I think you have some potential advantages. I would just call in advance and let them know.
All right. I don't know if you have comments to get to, or I'll go on to my second thing.
No, go on to the second thing. I mean, okay. I'll get to the comments.
So I don't know. I guess it's been 6 weeks or so ago when I had mentioned that if there are folks out there that are kind of by themselves and there's not a church close by, that we could say Missa Seca on Sundays. So I've been speaking with this young lady who's actually in Florida. And well, she was baptized when Wadika John was in the Milan Synod.
Okay.
Well, that's been kind of a while ago. But there's no churches close. Well, there are some churches, but they're not true Orthodox churches. And she goes to these places and leaves frustrated and discouraged because they're all ecumenist and everything else. She does a lot of studying. She goes to the library and gets on the internet and just looks up all kinds of things. She's been reading the fathers and different things. And I keep telling her, it's like, why do you keep beating your head against the wall? Just say Missa Seca with me and eventually something will work out. But anyway, she wrote this to me today. And so it's not actually a question. I think it's more of her opinion, but okay. Maybe we can speak to it a little bit. So she says, I found a video from some Orthodox monastery in Ireland. Anyway, they speak of all those so-called new converts that world orthodoxy is bringing in, who in reality are far-right fascist people and Protestant fundamentalists who hate women and all else. They are mostly dysfunctional young men. I know this all along. I just never heard anyone come forward before and to speak about it. Fascism is a lot like communism. Our country went to war to get rid of such types. Fascism is Satan and the demons dressed up to look like conservatives. That's what people are into nowadays because the morals in this country have gotten real bad. In my opinion, no one should be allowed to become an Orthodox, whether they be laymen or clergy, without first being tested. World Orthodoxy is just letting anyone in for money, I suppose. Christ and politics don't mix because it's a distortion of the Gospels. And then she asked if Metropolitan John is aware of what's going on with what I'm saying here, and what's the view.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can speak to that a little because a lot of that is kind of in the orthobro phenomenon that we deal with online, etc. There's a lot of unhappy young men who kind of see like some sort of I don't even want to, part of me wants to say like a kind of fascistized orthodoxy, but that wouldn't even be accurate because a lot of them don't realize it, but they're following modern communists. And so they're not even aware of it. I mean, from my perspective, A lot of the people that are converting are families, and sometimes they learn, sometimes they don't. My bigger issue is that, yeah, I mean, while World Orthodoxy is trying to create some sort of big tent out of rightist political movements, what a lot of these people who go in don't realize is that, these jurisdictions have their own agendas as well. So, I mean, in that sense, I feel badly for those people going in because they're going in thinking that they're being spiritually supported, and the reality is that they're not either. So, ironically, your friend's letter is, it hits the nail on the head. But the worst part is that those people don't even realize that they're also being lied to and that they are also being used. So that's kind of where I kind of stand on that. And so, I mean, yeah, I feel bad for her. I would just keep exhorting her if she can't find something, to keep trying to do Misa Sika together, learn more about that.
She did actually call me this morning, and she followed along with me. I had sent her the papers and stuff weeks ago, and she finally called. And afterwards today, she says, "Thanks for reading the prayers this morning. It helped me to get more interested now in the Western liturgy." Yay! Yeah. Praise be to God.
Glory to God. And with that, let's get to some comments here. So I'm glad to hear that, Machka, and I'm glad to hear that things improved for her. So this is good. Everyone should be doing things like this to help people because we all know so many people who need it. Let's see. Orthodox Traditionalist says, letter 188, St. Basil explains the grace of schismatics, among other places. I did approve the profile there, Anna the Meek. Let's see. Father Pachomius says, Christ is in our midst. Good evening. Father Joseph, Archbishop Irenaeus, is being attacked by the name worshippers lately, so it's interesting you mentioned that while I'm watching the stream tonight. Let's see. Eater of Bug says, why do some true Orthodox reject Father Seraphim Rose? I don't know any that out and out reject him. I mean, there are probably some who are more critical of him and don't automatically think he's a saint. But, that I think will work out at its own time. It always has. Father Macomia says, because we're name fighters and crypto-ecumenists because of Cyprianism, so you know how it is, LOL, yep. Orthodox Field says, chop down the tree. Yeah, that's the way to become the life of the party at a Christmas celebration. Yet to Compromise says, most true Orthodox do not reject St. Seraphim, LOL. Jerry Rodriguez says, we usually bring a fasting dish. In answer, I think, to your previous question there, Matushka. Bringing fasting dishes, also the Orthodox Field suggests that. So, hey, that's what I was suggesting with the tofurkey, but I guess probably people bring something a little more tasteful. Alexander Sharkus says, from what I've heard, there are some World Orthodox bishops who do consider Florinite calendars to have grace, and there's never been a synodal statement to the contrary. But I will up the ante on that for you, Alexander. Can you produce a statement from World Orthodox bishops saying that the Florinite old calendarists or any old calendarists have grace? When you can do that, let me know. From the point of view of the Synod of Resistance, what made them join the Kalinico Synod and agree that the World Orthodox are without grace? Quite simply, you can read their union documents, but they realized that times had changed and that things were not like they were in 1984. They were considerably worse. Eater a Bug says, isn't it better to just eat? Telling them you're fasting ruins the fast. That's two strikes, Eater of Bugs. Get thee behind me, Satan, because what you're basically saying is, no, you should just break the fast. No, that's not how Christians think. Bye-bye. Father Pacomia says, Nativity yet, Saint Spiridon da, as Archbishop of Erki of blessed memory said. Harry says, we usually make something with shrimp and share with everyone. That shrimp always works. Any seafood will work just because it's fancy. Yeah, Alexander says, Eater of Bugs, my understanding is there is a level of obedience to the church, and someone confronted, we should be clear about who our obedience is to. I agree with you, Alexander. The Orthodox Field says, our family should know we're Orthodox eventually, so they'll eventually know when fasting season approaches. Yes, the louder kind of, hey, the fast is coming approach does work too. Eater of Bugs says, oh, what? Cherry says, there was a problem in our parish too. They call them ortho bros. Oh, we all call them ortho bros. They call themselves ortho bros. Father Pacomia says, that's not really why we entered World War II, but that's the popular narrative. Not defending fascism, just saying that's propaganda more than the truth. Yeah, no, I understand that. Eater Bug says political correctness test just before you can join the church. No, not really. The Orthodox Field says, I am Andreev's critique on fascism is probably the best Orthodox critique on the reactionary movements of Europe. I haven't read it yet, but I'm guessing it probably is because he was kind of there. NPC with opinion says, you are the Piers Morgan of True Orthodox. And I'm not sure whether I should take that as an insult or a compliment. LOL, Christ is king over everything, including politics. Key is having politics influenced by the Orthodox worldview. Orthodox Field, very true. Lindorfer says, Roak rejects him. No idea who you're talking about. Debt to Compromise says, vegan stuffing. Very true. Stuffing is almost always safe. And Father Pacomia says, that's truly ascetic. I'm a stuffing fan, so. All right, so we got through the comments. Matushka, did you have any other questions for me?
Nope, that was it. But thank you all for your comments. They're very helpful. And God bless.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Matushka. If you have any other questions or any comments or things, just pop right back on. And thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate your role in our community.
I can see how I can get out of here. Oh, I got it. Okay. Good night.
Okay. All right. So that was a great question and answer. Anyone else can come in. Remember, this is a live Q&A session, which means you can come on the show if you want to jump on the stream to ask a question or make a comment. Just click the link in the top of the chat. There might be a wait time if I'm talking about something, but we are ready for any comment, any question, any strange thing you can name. We are ready for that. So I guess now in the 41st minute, I shall mention it. The current goal for today is $200. Why? Because I am down to literal, I'd like to say literal dollar bills, but I'm only semi-sure I have dollar bills. Basically we're trying to keep the lights on. We ask people to support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on Give, Send, Go. All of these options help us directly, and I do mention them when we receive them, and if anything pops up, I usually will put that up. And hopefully we can get some support. We know the holiday season, everything's tight, and so we understand, but we also can use help if possible. So let's see what you're. That Russian Orthodox says Roak rejects him as a saint, but during my catechism, we were told to read the soul after death by Father Seraphim Rose. We still appreciate some of his teachings. Yeah, I've never heard that there was any anti-Father Seraphim Rose movement in Roak. That doesn't make sense. And they have their own problems at this point. Let's see here. Another thing that was talked about that I didn't get a chance to talk about, and this is going to be, I know it's going to be controversial. It's going to be controversial, but I got to mention it anyway. Because, that's, Bob said it sounds like she's listening to that Seraphim Aldea guy. I absolutely agree. I'm sure it's him. A new translation of a book has come out, and I am going to put it up. It is Archbishop Theophan of Poltava's The Dogma of the Atonement, a discourse on the teachings of Metropolitan Anthony Krapovitsky. It is a new translation, and it is in hardcover with high quality paging, I should mention. So it's definitely worth looking at. I should mention a little bit on the background to understand why this book is so controversial. Metropolitan Anthony Krapovitsky, who has recently been glorified as a saint in the Rochore, along with the other Rochore hierarchs, had a unique teaching on the dogma of the atonement. Now, people who understand the history and life of Metropolitan Anthony, St. Anthony, if you will, basically, he was a very creative thinker. And so his book on the atonement, I think it was a booklet, actually, which I have not read. So don't shoot the horse of the messenger. Wait. Okay. The point is that basically he kind of made the argument that the tears of Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane could theoretically have been could have done the work of the atonement. I have not read the work. I do not know if that's accurate. I was also taught that it was kind of he viewed the Tears of Gethsemane as connected to the cross. I have not read the work. What I do know is that Theophan of Poltava did write a work heavily critiquing it. The Russian Synod shut both commentaries down, and this is the one from Archbishop of St. Theophan of Poltava. So it is available online. Father Chad Arneson is the translator, and it is a hardcover book. All I can say is it is important to Orthodox history to address the question. I don't think that we should shy away from these questions. It's part of history, and we should deal with them. So let me get back here. Okay, wait, hold on, please. Bada bing, I gotta change it up here. And we received a donation via Cash App for $50 from OP. So OP, if I can get my numbers to work. OP has brought us into positive territory, and we are now down to 150 for a total goal. And this is awesome. So if we can get, as it works on Sundays, just so you know, if we can get to 75%, which means get to 150 total donations, we will go on for a half an hour. If we can get for an additional half hour over the 2, so we'll stay till 11. If we can get to the total, which is 200, we will stay until 11:30 to answer questions, look for debates, do the things we do here, just so you know. And so thank you for that. That immediate jump, it's very good, awesome, and I am happy. Let's see here. So let's continue on. And before I go on, we'll just say help keep the lights on. Once again, support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on Gifts and Go. Just look at the description. Okay, let's get back to these. There's so many comments today. I feel great. Let me see here. Try being the only Orthodox in an Italian family. That's a real temptation, says Atomic Lead. I feel you. And I'm sure Lanika John totally understands, as he is also Orthodox and Italian. But it's tough. It's tough. The only good thing is that there are quite a few Italian seafood dishes, but you have to still cook them. Alexander Zherka says, at what point do you believe grace departed from the world Orthodox? When the new calendar was first introduced? At the 1935 proclamation of the old calendarists that they were schismatic? Later. That's a great question. And again, we have to get into Orthodox history. I'm hoping my future book, which will be very soon, God willing, will help answer this question. It is not a monolithic answer. At the moment, the new calendarists declared the old calendarists graceless in Greece. That would be the answer in Greece. However, this is not representative of the Orthodox world as a whole in 1935. In 1935, Patriarch Christopher of Alexandria, for example, was a staunch, I don't think he was the only one. He was the Alexandrian Patriarchate was staunchly for the traditional calendar, as was the Patriarchate of Jerusalem. And Antioch wasn't on the new calendar until 1946. Now, of course, the majority of the Orthodox world was still Russian, even though there were a lot of true Orthodox happened in Greece, in Romania. In Bulgaria, the new calendar wasn't implemented until 1968. In the OCA, the new calendar wasn't implemented until 1982. So if you're in the OCA listening right now and you're thinking, that's crazy that they're on the old calendar still, just remember that there were at least 2 Star Wars movies that came out before the OCA joined the new calendar. So that's my answer to the question. Alexander says, I don't know much about the modern Florida view, so I'm asking questions to learn before drawing any conclusions. Yeah, the world was confusing in the 20th century. It's just not as confusing anymore. The Orthodox field says if anyone's nous is cleansed enough to the point where they can clearly give an exact date of when World Orthodox lost sacramental grace, I'm all ears. The answer is you can't give an exact date like that because world history didn't unfold like that. Yep. MPC says nous. Nous is a Greek term for an enlightened spiritual heart, for lack of a better. Well, a spiritual heart, not necessarily enlightened. Eater of Bug says, isn't it kind of scholasticism to try and pinpoint the exact moment grace departed, like saying the exact single moment in time where the Eucharist, bread and wine became the Eucharist? Well, I'm not saying in terms of when grace departs people. I'm talking about when synodically, hierarchically, grace departs once you accept heresy. That's true of the celebrants, the bishops, the priests, etc. And I don't think that's difficult to do at all. It's just not that it's a one-word answer, because it was a global phenomenon and continues as a global phenomenon today, dealing with new calendarists in every country. There's no way around that. Lindorfer says, Roac rejects anything Vladika Agafongal touches. I don't know. I don't know that that's true. I haven't been a great student of Roac's recent decisions, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but maybe. Eater of Bugs says pretty much. NPC says monolith, stalker reference. The Orthodox field says we can confidently say at this point World Orthodoxy has abandoned the true faith and therefore they're outside the church. Yes, I would say that there's still one wild card in the mix, and that is probably Jerusalem, because even as recently as Patriarch Irenaeus, there was still like recognition, say for example of the Rokor Agafungal. There's no guaranteeing that Patriarch Theophilus couldn't do the same thing. It just maybe not. Father Vacomia says Orthodox. It says October 14th, 1982 at 12:15 p.m. That's when grace departed officially. I could go so far as to say 1983 when the Rokor's anathema against ecumenism was placed, but I wouldn't do that because that's not true. Orthodox traditionalist says, look at the years each one of them went into the WCC. That's a metric. Alexander says, Eater of Bugs, while I understand where you're coming from, I think it's inappropriate to call it scholasticism, as it's very important that the Orthodox understand where the church is. Absolutely true. I agree. Debt to Compromise says, with my experience in World Orthodoxy, I would say that God can use it to show Orthodoxy is a true faith, but they just aren't Orthodox. Ortho Pirate said with a member chat says there should be a running counter at this point to show how many anathemas the World Orthodox hierarchy have placed themselves under. That's actually not a bad idea. Keeping track and showing the inconsistency of these people to, in the face of their own claims that they're representing the apostolic deposit of faith when they're totally not, I think is totally reasonable. I think Subdeacon Nectarius was working on some kind of almanac of all like the ecumenist stuff just from this year. And from what I understand, it's already pretty big. So we'll see. We will see. That might be might be one of the new publications of 2026. You never know. But in any case, it's been kind of crazy. For starters, the one that the intro video showed, LOL. Yeah, that was actually put up by Unseen Warfare. If you haven't followed his channel, follow it. And he did. That's a clip from a deposition of Archbishop Gabriel back in 2007, right before the union happened. Orthodox. I'm going to put it up for free because it's a freebie. I'll do that because it is called the 2025 Annual Chronology of Ecumenism, 130 pages. Release will be midnight, January 1st, 2026. So we could do like no, I don't think so. We're not cool enough to do like a New Year's book launch countdown party. I don't think we're that cool. I mean, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Alexander says, speaking of, what are your thoughts on the Jerusalem Patriarchate scandal with Patriarch Irenaeus? I just watched a documentary about it. Lord have mercy. I have I have not watched it yet, but I know that was a big scandal and it was a problem. But I really do believe he was probably more a victim in it than people say. Let me see here. Father McCovey says, "Are we going to do that?" I don't know. Now I'm wondering. Orthodox Christian says it's a free PDF for everyone. Will be mailed out. LOL. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, that would be cool. At midnight, the ball drops. We don't play John Lennon's Imagine, and then we all read the new, 2025 chronology of ecumenism. This sounds like kind of cool. NPC with Opinions 2434 says, "Will you debate the voice of reason?" You mean the guy who talks like this, and he is very, very, very Catholic? I mean, I could, but he ain't reaching out to me. If there's one thing you have to understand about Apologetics Inc., and that goes across Ecumenist, Orthodox, Roman Catholic, etc., is the one thing that they do not want is to talk about true Orthodox. Tradcasts are great because they're so incredibly inconsistent because they're all pretending on the reality that they're just vassals of the Pope, whether or not they like it. We don't have that problem, and that scares them. So my personal feeling is that they are, if you even suggested it to Voice of Reason, and I highly invite you to, please do, he will probably go through the litany of excuses that A, my channel is too small, B, I'm an extremist, C, I don't even know what C is, but it's probably a stupid reason. Let's see. Not playing Imagine sounds like a good time. Before the 2000s, they would just play Auld Lang Syne, and that was fine. Or the Pirate says, "You could do a live movie commentary there until midnight. Time the ending of the movie with midnight." But what movie are we doing? Oh, man. And then do we get into copyright issues? Will I get arrested on stream? Not arrested. I'll just get my YouTube channel struck or something. But I don't know, unless we can find maybe a public domain movie. I've been looking at public domain things, but let's see. I listened to Jay, Orthodox Traditionalist. Do you say that we should use the WC join date as a marker because of the anathema against ecumenism? I think that actually works pretty well, only because the anathema against ecumenism was so much later than so many of them joining the World Council of Churches. Eater of Bug says, "I listened to Jay Dyer's song about Voice of Reason." I don't listen to Jay Dyer even when he's not singing, so I don't know how that feels. Orthodox Traditionalist says, "Do you have plans to republish the history of the GOC or where to get it for a reasonable price?" Let's see. Orthodox Traditionalist said, "I did not say should, just a thought. Not sure when." Tom Katsafana says, "Good evening, Father. Blessings. May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit." Orthodox Traditionalist says, "Not sure when." Alexander Scherzer says, okay. Barnold says, "I need a triple B. Big Boniface blessing." Father Boniface, if he is, I don't think he said benediction in the chat. He could be busy. So I don't know where he is, but hopefully he comes on tonight. It's always a blast when we have Father Boniface or Reader John, and other people. Even you were, I would say entertaining. Everyone still remembers Matt. Speaking of which, if Matt's here, hi, welcome. Let's see here. Where is Father Boniface? I don't know. I just clarified. We should watch The Life of Pi. Ooh, I don't know what that is. I think I've heard of it. It sounds like some 90s movie and one of those intellectual things. Ortho Pirate says, "YouTube Movies channel has a list of free movies. Just spitballing LOL." Yeah, no, I know they do. And I can even pick some favorites I'd want to watch, but I wonder if me putting them on and us watching them is considered rebroadcasting. It's a tough one. I'm not sure how that works. I'd have to look it up. Barnold says, "Is Matt here?" To my knowledge, no, but that can always change. So hopefully that helps. So we are now, well, I'll just give it a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. Oh, Tom with a super sticker. Bada bang. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Helping keep the lights on with the YouTube sticker, adding to that TK. with the super sticker for $13.99, and I always round up to 14 because I think that's fair. And that brings us to 64, meaning it's really cold here, by the way, guys. Meaning 136, doing that big brain math. Meaning we have less than $100 to get to 75%. That's right. We have $36 to go to get to $100, and so that would mean $86 to get to 75%, bringing us to the show going to 11. So let's continue. Whoa, okay. Orthodox Traditionalist with a super chat. Can you talk about your saint and the article I just wrote about Rokor MP? I absolutely can, and thank you for that. That gets us closer. And wait, there's Father Boniface with a member chat saying Benedicite. So he's here. So Barnold wants your blessing. And he says, I hope to be on soon. Glory to God. Cool. This is going to be great. And it looks like we're getting closer to making the time longer because thanks to Orthodox Traditionalist super chat of $20, OTP's super chat of $20, we are now at 84, meaning it is only $66 to go to get to 75% and thus move to 11 o'clock. So we're getting close now. Thank you for that. And so now the current is 84. We're trying to get to 150 so that we can get to 11 o'clock, an 11 o'clock show. Let me see. Do you use AI? MPC says you use AI to translate your works. Orthodox Traditionalist says I use expensive translators. Okay, so let's get to that. What OTP wrote an article, which I am going to put up, and then I'm going to tell you why it personally affects me. Okay, and so I'm going to also include a link. So give me a moment. This was a new article. I'm going to share it, and definitely really worthwhile, I would say. It's a really good article. The price of unity with Moscow, how the Russian church abroad turned its back on 3 new martyrs. One of those new martyrs, by the way, for the record, is St. Joseph of Petrograd. St. Joseph of Petrograd is my namesake. When Orthodox Traditionalist Publications released a translation of his life last year, the full life in Russian, which had information which was actually later than the stuff you see in Russia's catacomb saints, it brought tears to my eyes. But, this is, while St. Joseph of Petrograd is considered, he is listed in the Rokor MP's calendar, he will never be listed in the Moscow Patriarchate's calendar. He is considered, he's considered a straightforward schismatic. Earlier this year, I had been asked by Craig Trulia, or it was either earlier this year or last year, why I had become sort of negative towards the opinions of Father Daniel Siosef, who was killed by the Muslims a few years back. But one of the things that I realized as I studied him more, besides the Irenopolitan, ideas, etc., was that he did not like the church abroad. He considered it schismatic. He considered the catacomb church schismatic, and this is traced in this article. So I'm going to put the link in the chat because it is a fantastic article that you should read, and it does talk about how my namesake is denigrated in the Moscow Patriarchate. I mean, they're closer to glorifying Sergius than they are to putting St. Joseph of Petrograd in the calendar. And for the record, for those who do want that life of St. Joseph of Petrograd, if you've never seen it, it is available on Orthodox Traditionalist Publications Amazon. I highly, highly recommend it because he was the true leader of the Catacomb Church in a time when the Moscow Patriarchate's revision committees, as they are now, are trying to say there was no real Catacomb Church. There was no real organization. It was all killed off. And it's all a lie. The whole thing's a lie. But it starts at the beginning, and I highly recommend not only this article, which I have put in the chat, but also Reader John enters the studio. Welcome, Reader John.
Oh, Father bless.
May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Sorry, Mike.
No, I'm glad you're here. And so I was just looking at this article and put a link to it. It's fantastic. I highly recommend people read it. And the truth about St. Joseph of Petrograd is they're trying to bury it, and our job is to not let it be buried. This is something that I was actually thinking about earlier today, is that in some sense, our presence, the scattered True Orthodox presence as it is itself some sort of power center in the world today, because the New Calendarists and Ecumenists are desperately trying to rewrite history, and we're not letting them. And it's probably driving them nuts.
Truth hurts.
Yeah, it does. Let me see here. Let's get what we've got here. Father, bless, keep Jacob Filaret Clemens in your prayers. He recently left the GOC for the Soviet Rokor MP Synod. I will. Unfortunately, I believe Jacob Clemens was Jacob Clemens was on yesterday.
Oh yeah, he was spamming the live chat, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and he was trying to make these arguments that are really emotional. And when we asked him to deal with it, to actually answer these things and come on or clarify things that historically, he refused. He was just he's emotional.
Well, he knows it better than anybody else. That's his problem.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, then when he makes a choice like that, it's gonna bite him back. It'll hit him back eventually. But of course, keep prayers for him that he returns from his vomit. Sorry to put it that way, but that's how the Proverbs put it. I've been keeping him in my prayers a bit extra lately. I worry for him. I understand Seraphim, and praying for him is really the best you can do, especially if he knows all the facts and isn't, good on
well,
Alexander.
He went through that cult slop, and now he has to go through the Soviet slop. So I guess he has to go through all the mud and become the prodigal son.
I've been there.
We all have. Father. Yeah, that's how I know.
Alexander says, wasn't Filaret on last night? Well, yeah, I guess he was, and unfortunately, I didn't know that he had. I don't know everyone, so I know as many people as I can, but I didn't know that he was a GOC apostate. But he'll have to learn like the rest of us. Orthodox Field says, Lord has mercy. Sorry for much, because I wasn't in the stream yesterday, so I don't know. Yeah, I get he was, and he was just spamming,
he was just quoting the ecumenist line. Yeah.
He just went straight down that. Orthodox traditionalists, are you open to meeting with people privately about your ecclesiology and research? And Sisoyev. Yep. Okay, sorry about that, Gabriel Michael. Orthodox Field said, I've sent him the interview with Timotheus you uploaded. Hopefully it helps. That interview helped me a ton in solidifying myself further in the true church. Thank you for that, brother. Alexander Zherka says, St. Joseph is deeply venerated in Rokor MP, though.
Nope.
That you could say that, but clearly then they're not. It's like they're venerating him without actually paying attention to what he taught. That's not the same thing as deep veneration.
Well, in the Moscow Patriarchate does not even have him canonized, so it's kind of contradictory to.
Well, if you look at
they refuse to.
If you look at that Orthodox Traditionalist article, it's actually even worse than that. They talk negatively about him, including Father Sisoyev.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Him and who else was it? Was it St. Kirill of Kazan? No, maybe.
I think. Well, St. Kirill of Kazan, they redid his history. They're trying.
That was revisionist history.
Same thing with Archbishop Valerian Troitsky. Let's see here. No, I don't meet with randos. Seraphim says, do you meet up with other Marines in the GOC? You just need a 1,000 plane ticket to Nahaoki. Lindorfer says, that hurts to hear about Jacob. I didn't know. He never talked to me about it, so I have no idea.
I thought he flirted with the GOC, but never actually joined.
If that's true, then that's an even worse situation, because that means
he was. So what I know, I know he was part of Rokor MP before. And I actually know the parish and I know the priest, but I'm not going to dox him on here. I know for a fact he's been Rokor MP.
Yeah.
I know he talked with Father Chad, but I don't think he ever came to True Orthodoxy.
Went any further. Okay.
But you'd have to bring that up with Father Chad, because that was his only contact that I know.
Well, if he didn't join the True Orthodox, then it's, we can pray for him, but, let's be realistic. He's probably going through his own cognitive dissonance, and he has to deal with that.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. Orthodox Traditionalist said, I would not step foot in Oki again, even for the taco rice. LOL. NPC says, what synod is Reader John in? Reader John?
That's a complicated matter.
Oh, okay.
I'm GOCK adjacent, but I have to get some paperwork into them. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
I was Procore MP, but I have not prayed for the patriarch or any of them. I don't know if you've seen Subdeacon Nectarius's recent videos where people kind of went through that period where they separated, and then they joined. I'm at the end of my in the wilderness point, so I'm working on it.
Glory to God. That's awesome. Okay. Alexander Jerkin says, okay, I understand. Just trying to discern some things about ecclesiology. Had some questions, thought it may be helpful. Hey, another thing you can do is join the stream. Call in, and maybe we can help with some questions. Like, it's a lot easier than going through the chat room. Just click on the link at the top of the chat if you're in YouTube. Let me see here. Someone said he had such a great priest at his parish. Father Nicholas is a treasure to have. Unfortunately, he was posted by some bad actors who target TO inquirers, catechumens. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, and I've been saying this from the beginning. At least in the example of my synod, you had to have a really thick skin to join. So we have to let what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of some kind of it's like clay. Like, you can mold clay, but eventually clay has to harden.
Yeah.
You can't keep it in a state of softness forever. It's not its nature. So ultimately, he was going to get poached or something. He was going to deal with the debate. It's important that true Orthodox Christians know that not only are they, uniting with the body of Christ, but more importantly, that there will be attempts to take them out. Let's see. Orthodox Traditionalist says, you can email me. Orthodox Field said, call Father Stephen Allen. That's a great idea, too. Several Webster says,
I've actually talked to Father Stephen on the phone. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that.
I have too. So, yeah, I totally recommend. Especially if you're afraid of being on YouTube. Andre Sarah venerates him. I don't think Roker MP actually does as a whole. Not really. Not anymore.
Well,
He's just naming a list.
The funny thing is the Roker MP, last time I checked, still has St. Joseph of Petrograd.
Yeah, in their calendar.
But they still answer to Moscow, which they despise. They consider him
the head of the catacomb schism.
Yeah, ahead of a schism. So
yeah, and
yet they elevate Sergius, which of a thrice sorrowful memory. I'll be diplomatic.
Yep.
And they're trying to glorify Sergius, which I don't know how they square that round hole. So
yeah. Orthodox Traditionalist is okay. I understand you all. Well, I'm certainly World Orthodox. It's good to understand your perspective. I definitely have a lot to learn, and I'm prayerfully discerning. We don't bite if you want to join the stream, by the way. Seraphim says the St. Joseph Petrograd situation in Roker and PNMP is kind of an ecclesiological Achilles heel when analyzing the current climate. It's super contradictory for them to half venerate him. Absolutely true. I love that St. Joseph icon of him trampling Sergius. I actually had a chance to venerate that icon when I was in St. Petersburg. It was actually commissioned and done while I was in Russia.
I think they still have a Romanian old calendar saint on their calendar that
they have St. Precariat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Reader John, Jacob Clements was never Roker MP. He was, since his inception, GOCK. And
no. He was Roker MP. I got that for a fact. I know he was Roker MP.
Okay. Well,
because I was Roker MP and I know the parish he went to. So.
He was only in Father Chad's Discord because I invited him to it. I don't know who to believe on this one, but I'm going to probably go with Reader John because it sounds like he has inside information you might not, Seraphim. Yeah. I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure it could be both. And I just, what I'm saying is, I don't know his extent of interaction with Father Chad. And if he was, I was under the impression he was a true Orthodox catechumen. He never actually was received into true Orthodoxy. I know for a fact.
Nope.
But I knew it for a fact. I don't even know if he was received into World Orthodoxy. I know he was attending a ROCOR MP church, and I know the church and where it is and stuff. But I wouldn't dare reach out to that priest. I think he apostatized anyway. So,
well, this is a crazy, interesting message. Read this for you, Reader John. Father Mark Template says, "Welcome to the GOCK, Reader John. Let me know if you need help with the paperwork." It sounds to me like, has he been accepted in? Seraphim asks, "Is this Father Mark Template?"
Father Mark, you beat me.
Well, that's not an acceptable situation.
No, it's fine. It's complicated. I'll leave it as that.
I think that's a great way of putting it. Eater of Bugs. Surprisingly fantastic comment from you. It says, ROCOR MP venerating St. Joseph means as much as Union Catholics venerating St. Gregory Palamas. Yeah.
True story. Yeah.
Atomic lead, can confirmed. Amp thick-skinned. Exactly. Father bless. I'm glad to see you're now under the same bishop as I am. Metropolitan Demetrius, the treasurer, having the GOCK. And Seraphim says, and Father Mark says, glory to God. St. Joseph is in the dismissal prayers and in the calendar for ROCOR MP. Yeah, but what's the point if you don't agree with what he even believes and you join the MP?
Yeah.
Seraphim says, Reader John, we are speaking of a different Jacob Clemens because when I met him, he was a Protestant.
Well, that is the same Jacob Clemens. He was a Protestant.
Okay. I don't know. Which synod has the original St. Joseph trampling icon? I want to say it is one of the ROCOR V synods.
Let me clarify. If we're talking about Hype Man Jacob, the one that was hyping for the cult in Texarkana, then yes, that's the Jacob I'm talking about.
Okay.
But if it's somebody else, then I could be wrong. So I do apologize if I am.
And Father Mark says, yep, I'm all the way in the GOC. He's officially part of the synod. Okay. So
now I'm going to have to confess envy. Thank you.
Nice. Eater of Bugs says GOC, easy as 1, 2, 3, simple as orthodoxy. I guess GOC, 1, 2, 3, you and me. Okay. Anyway.
All right, Jackson 5.
Yeah. No, we aren't speaking of the same guy, Reader John, LOL.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, sorry. I apologize.
The Orthodox Field says, I know who Reader John is talking about. I have no idea who anyone's talking about. He just showed up. Okay. Now we just need St. Peter of the Aleut Parish on the Hatka website directory. I'm sure it'll get there eventually. What was the thing I had read earlier? What was it? Sar, do not redeem the tiger. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. I felt like I read something. Oh, yeah. Archbishop of Irenaeus being attacked by name worshippers. Yeah, I was interested because I think that I think that has to do with the stuff in Texas. So we'll see. I mean, I want to call them New Roac because they don't sound like the old Roac I knew.
Roac zealotry.
No, you're more like Roac. I'm not going to go there.
Roac in the jungle. What was it? Underground. What was that?
The underground jungle.
Father Peter hears that.
The dark jungle of whatever he said there. Okay, let's see. NPC with opinion says, I love Demetrius, and Shion Template says, definitely not the old Roac. You have to realize that sometimes I will read the username and sometimes I will infer it. It's not because I'm seeing it different. It's because I'm guessing based on the usernames and what I remember. Death to Compromise says Teo Jungle Warfare. And Atomic Lee says
Teo Jungle Warfare. I like that.
Yeah. Yep. Bishop Irenaeus of Texas is being attacked by name worshippers. Atomic Lead says yes, he is. Primarily in Texas, where they tried to split a mission. That's becoming a bit of a mess. So yeah, but God willing, it works out. And Archbishop Irenaeus, of course, defending orthodoxy, comes out on top. Orthodox Traditionalist says, Father Mark, text me the church info and I'll add it to my OTP map and send it to my friend who runs the Hatka website. Also, to those running the True Orthodox Map, when you watch this, if you have time, please update that information. Let's see.
Father Mark, are you in that place next to the Republic of Texas?
No, I think he has his own parish. They have a building now and everything.
That's what I was wondering, if he's in that state that's next to the Republic of Texas.
I don't know. Let's see here. Lindorfer says, "Do you know why Father John Copeland left the GOCK for ROAC?" I do, but I don't feel comfortable talking about it without him here, because I mean we have mild disagreements on how we can interpret what happened. So yeah, I do know. I don't make a noise of it because, from what I understand, he only recently made the move and he's by himself. And if he wants to talk about it, he's welcome to come on and hash it out here, and you can find out. But
yeah, that's like that situation we had a few weeks ago. The main parties are not here. We can't really say much.
Exactly. It feels weird to talk behind his back. So
yeah,
I've talked to him before. He knows where I am. So if he wants to come on and talk about it, he can. Or the pirate says, "I love the smell of incense in the morning." Yes, don't we all?
As long as it's not napalm, we're good.
Seraphim says, "Now my wife and I can plan our long-awaited visit to Louisiana and get to attend the liturgy there." Very true. Very true.
Right.
All right, so we are now 20 minutes into the second hour. Just a reminder, everyone, we are trying to keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on Give, Send, Go. Just look in the description. Our current goal today is now we are already sitting on $84. The goal is $200. We have 116 left, and if we can get just what's the number? $66 more, we will extend to 11 o'clock as opposed to 10:30, which is when we close down. So if we can get there, let's do it. We're 66 away from it, so we can do it. Can we do it? Yes, we can. I think so.
I can go ahead and pledge 50 if you want.
What?
I'll pledge 50. I just can't do it while I'm on the stream at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's my birthday, Father. So.
Oh, happy birthday! Many years to you. That's awesome.
Thank you, Father.
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling generous.
So, nice.
I survived another year.
Yeah. How old are you now?
46.
46. Oh, I'm still older than you, so you're a baby.
Yeah. Oh, you'll always be older.
Yeah. Happy feast day of St. Potapia. So I'm going to include that. I'm going to include it just to make it easier for people. So once again, we will add that in. So that's an open. Oh, Father Boniface is here. Welcome, Father Boniface.
So that means you guys got it.
Benedici Day. Okay. So how's it going, Father?
All right. Very good. Praise the Lord. I'm hanging in there.
Well, Barnold asked for a blessing, so if you want to give him one.
Yeah, he's been waiting for years.
God bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Okay, so but I'm putting this number in. Just
that means you guys, all you guys got to do is 16 now.
Yeah, we're really close now. This is crazy. Okay, so let us add that on. That's 134. And again, this is because of Reader John's birthday present. So happy birthday to him. And we are now $66 away from the goal. And we're just $16 away from extending it to 11 o'clock. So let's see. Oh, Harajima Yua, does God have an uncreated name? That's really the heart of the name worship controversy. The question is, if he does have an uncreative name, do we have access to it? That's the tricky part. For the most part, no, I would not ask Hakna, because they'll just say yes.
Well, a name in and of itself is an utterance.
Yeah.
So
it either A, springs forth eternal somehow, which is unlikely because of the nature of a name, or it has an origin and it is a created object. It's still a holy object, a venerable object. It's the name of God, but is it God? Yeah. That's the question. And the answer...
And that's why it's called name or worship.
Yeah, and that's really where the church has basically decided, from Greece to Russia back then, etc. The answer to that question is no. A name is a name. Let's see. So...
Doesn't matter was settled 112 years ago.
Yep, correct. Hiroshima Yua says, I want to hear it from Father Joseph. Okay, hope that explained. Eater of Bug says, Gator Doxy is real. don't think any saint taught that God has an uncreated name. Absolutely right. And thank you for that $5 super chat, because that is getting us even closer. We are now down. It is now 139 as a total. $11 will get us to stay till 11 o'clock. $11. And I'm just going to put HM because I can't spell that name.
And I'll do it after the stream. I won't do an IOU this time, Father.
Don't worry. Thank you. And again, happy birthday. This is great. So we are now down to
Happy
$11.
Thank you.
And so let's continue on. Little Wing with a member chat. Remember, if you are a member, your chats do appear on the screen as if they're super chats. Can you glorify the name of God? Oh, sure, you can glorify the name of God, but if you're glorifying it in prayer, that's one thing. If you're trying to say that it is actually what's the word we're looking for?
You're glorifying God.
Yeah, you're glorifying God, not His name. You're glorifying God through His name. You're not.
It's like when you venerate an icon. Are you venerating the wood, or are you venerating
exactly?
Yeah,
exactly. How does Saint Gregory Palamas's hesychasm differ from what Hakna teaches on the name? Seraphim. Do you not know? I highly recommend going to the website on name worshiping, which is it's blessed by the GOC. Definitely, the Orthodox Field also says read Hakna's Divergent Teachings. And I'm also going to include the on name worshiping website because if people are honestly thinking that in some way, shape, or form name worshiping is legitimate, get it out of your heads immediately. It's a heresy, guys. It's a heresy. And I put that up. NPC, the answer to your question is in that website. Seraphim, once again, I highly recommend this website. And then Orthodox Field says it's their synodal document espousing open heresy on their website. They flat out say God has an uncreated name. There you go. Father Boniface, how are you doing this? How are you doing this evening, and what's going on?
Well, I'm busy with the liturgy, and busy working at getting the house together and trying to go through the setups of the bureaucracy of utilities and stuff like that. So that's always interesting, and insurance and things like that. It's taken up a lot of time.
Right.
But aside from that, I'm happy to see some women getting together to communicate with one another, like Matushka Stephanie and the other person today. And I'm hoping that, and we'll have, I think, some more other joining in. So in other words, we have some women that are like isolated and they need that fellowship. And I would encourage anybody listening that if they have a wife or people that they know, women who are isolated and in need of fellowship, that they can get in touch with us. And you can,
absolutely. With Martha Stephanie.
yes. And
I think someone
and so I think if she's having a Mississika, the dry mask, but I'm even thinking of other things like that the women can do, just have chats or studies. I'm thinking of even, maybe getting one going in the midst of all my other things. But anyway, so that's really encouraging for me to see. And so within our metropolia, it's just to see development like that. I just love it. And pray it just grows. And to the glory of God, and that souls, the saints will be encouraged here. So,
all right, we just received a Cash App from DM, and we are now at $50. We are going till 11 o'clock. So again, if we can get to the 200, we'll stay till 11:30. But as of now, we're staying till 11 o'clock. This is no one's bound to stay. I'll be staying till 11 o'clock at least. I can't force anyone to do that. But okay, let's continue on. Q1 2028, wife and I will be receiving the GOCK via baptism that same year at St. Seraphim Parish in Virginia. Glory to God. 3-year-long catechism for us out here due to my orders. That kind of makes sense because you're, in the military, and there aren't many. I don't think there are any parishes in Japan. There are in Asia, but not in Japan. Orthodox Traditionalist says, you coming to HQMC or Q? This sounds like military stuff. Seraphim says, looking for either EAS or if I stay in PCS to Norfolk to work at EWTGLANT as an instructor. All military stuff. I don't understand any of it. I'm not in there.
Is that Navy or Marine?
I'm guessing maybe Marine. Cherry says maybe a Zoom liturgy if they can't be with you. Yeah, that's a good idea. Of course they can't partake, but they can be encouraged by the worship. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reader John and Eater Bug says Reader John and Father Boniface have been deputized to live stream with you all night. Force
Deputized,
them to Orthodox Field says force them to stay. And how am I going to do that? Be like, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I don't know.
NPC with Opinion says Bald King. I don't know who he's talking about. I'm assuming that might be a reference to me. But Father Joseph, you have to understand our acronyms have acronyms within them in the military.
That's true.
Barnold says, where the heck is Matt? Oh, you got your big Boniface blessing, Barnold. You missed it. You have to rewind. I mean, you can bless him again, I guess.
Rewind your blessing. Get it
the Lord bless you again in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
There you go. You got the big blessing. You got the BBB. I called
the big beautiful blessing.
All right. I called too, but they didn't pick up. So yeah, I don't know if Matt's going to show, but he tends to show up towards the second half. And now that we're staying till 11 at least, there's a good chance he'll show up.
He needs to warm up his truck and build up his anger. Give it time.
You got to do it. You got to call him. You got to make a call for him.
Yep. Okay, Matt.
Barnold knows.
You're gonna have to. Barnold needs to come out and be like, Matt. Maybe he'll show up. Let's see here. Orthodox Ritualist says, tough decision, NFTU. Yes, Marine Talk. We don't have to fake alpha life and slam weights on the ground and climb on the church roof. Are we making a reference? That was a reference.
Beast.
That was a reference. Well, I got it. Maybe I should put it on just for
that was a Father Beast reference.
I know. It was Mr. Priest. I know. Yeah, hold on. For those who don't know, because I'm filling people in on the lore.
Was that Father Moses something or other?
Yeah, it's Father Moses something.
I'm
right,
McPherson.
Yeah, hold on. This is how he starts his video, guys.
All right.
He wants to be Mr. Priest.
Put your seatbelts on.
Strap in, because you're only gonna need the what is it? You're gonna get the whole couch, but you're only gonna need the edge. Oh, something like that.
Oh wow.
Anyway.
Today we bought this $2 million mansion, and we're gonna transform it into a church. Hey, that's me, Father Moses, top of our new church building. And no, I'm not having a mental breakdown, and no, the police are not coming to get me. But if you stick around in this video, I'll explain what I'm doing with those 2 tablets of steel.
Okay, no one actually cares. I just wanted to show the reference. That's why I kept pausing to be like, when does this end?
This is why anabolic steroids are bad, kids. Sorry.
Steroids is bad. No, that's reminding me of another thing. I don't know if you ever watched Solid JJ, where like he does like parodies of cartoons.
Oh no.
Yeah, and there was this one where they did this, this anti-drug commercial using these old Marvel characters, but they finally get to Captain America, who can't fully commit to the drugs are bad bit, because it turns out that the super soldier serum was just cocaine.
Oh, he's doping.
It was terrible. I can't believe I just made that reference. But anyway, the Matt signal. That's funny. In terms of this McPherson reference, NBC says, I'm going to move to Russia. Okay. Father Beast, the beta salesman, 100%. Steroid doctor.
You named it beta.
Beta, oh man. Yeah, Atomic Lead says, this seems ostentatious and unbecoming. You don't? Yeah, it does. It does. Father Rich Piano.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
When he works out in front of the mirror and blasting metal music, it's kind of awkward.
You notice there's no growth when I do that. Let's see. Shion to Plan Father Mark says, have to run. Everyone have a blessed night. Have a great one. Congratulations.
you.
Many years to you. Didn't someone on X recently make the comment that Rokor priests were on welfare? Did Father Moses buy that mansion with EBT? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I know people on welfare. I mean, I get food stamps. Like, I'm not proud to say that, but we need food. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Some of the priests are on welfare, and then some of them are becoming celebrity YouTubers.
Well, you know what the alternate name for a Rokor MP is, right?
No.
Brokor MP.
Brokor MP.
Because they're broke all the time. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of sad, but what's funny is a lot of the people that joined from the schism in our own synod that left to go to Rokor MP.
Mm-hmm.
I think at least a couple of them thought they were going to get a salary.
Nope.
So didn't work out that way. Recon Kisa says, "What's up, people? Hello, Father. God bless you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit." Eater Bug says, "True." Orthodox Ritualist says, "Or though he bought it with Alec Jones's Russia money." Recon Kisa says, "Did you see Father Turbo Qualls in the movie St. Moses the Black?" For those who don't know, we did review that last week.
Oh my goodness, what was that?
It was so weird. It was. The jury's out.
I know what it is. I know what it is. It's like they're trying to do this, like gangsta Chicago guy, and then they like time warp to the time of St. Moses the Black, and just trying to tie both those together, and it's just really weird.
Well, you know what the funny part is? That everyone's mentioning Father Turbo Qualls is in the movie. But if you watch the preview, Father Turbo Qualls gets shot down. Like, he gets literally shot.
Yeah, he's the priest who gets shot.
He gets shot in the street. I'm like, wow. And, I mean, when you think about the trope about the black guy who dies at the end of the movie, and it turns out to be the priest.
It's at the beginning of the movie. That's even worse.
I have no idea. But they're like, yeah, but he's on the movie. Yeah, he gets shot, dude.
You can't go with the traditional trope. You have to start a whole new one. Golly.
Let's see. NPC Eater Bug says no one should be ashamed to be on welfare. I think I can think of a few people, but not anyone I know. NPC with opinions, Flays, Death to Compromise says, I thought that was him. Yes, it was. Orthodox Traditionalist says another DEI movie. I'm like,
wait, hold up. Did he look convincing though when he got shot?
I don't know. He just kind of flopped. He's kind of chunky, so he just that's as real as it gets for a fat guy. I mean, I know. Like, there's not many dramatic ways I fall down. They all look like round bounce. There's I've never seen like a huge dramatic death scene for a fat guy in a movie. He just goes down. But if anyone wants to correct me on that, feel free. Orthodox Tradition has another DEI movie, and Harashimi Shua says, "Okay, I'll ask for everyone. Is George Droid in the movie? I don't know. Literally, we've seen exactly, I think, 25 seconds.
George Droid. Well, come to find out, that was actually PF. So.
Then Eater Bug says, F the MP coming down from the underground, a young Russian, not a bad, because I'm okay. No, I'm reading that. Not finishing that.
No.
Alexander Zhurka says, does anyone know the status of the GOC cadre mission of the Theotokos in St. Petersburg, Florida, was considering visiting to discuss, but recently the website and Facebook went down. I mean, to my knowledge, they're on YouTube also, so just double check there.
Yeah.
The mission of the Theotokos priest is Father Theodoros. Orthodox Traditionalist says,
one's
yes,
in Clearwater.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's a huge parish. I'll get you in touch with the priest there. So yeah, no, the church is fine. It might just be Facebook. Maybe they just banned them for whatever reason. Maybe he accidentally said Jew or something. And it's Parkins in Star Wars Death. Porkins in Star Wars Death. I don't remember that one. But if I remember, if he was one of the ones flying, I don't think that counts because he didn't. You don't see him die. You just see the plane blow up.
Yeah.
Michael Keith says, "Do you think Fiddy is going to become Orthodox?" No, I don't.
Fiddy?
I think no. 50 Cent. I think.
No, I know. Yeah, I know what he's talking about.
I
was
think what he sees is financial potential. But maybe you never know. God willing, but I don't.
I mean, he does have a boat down there off the coast in Florida. You might want to go knock on the yacht there.
NPT says, "I know Father Joseph's in cahoots with Israel. I just can't prove it yet." I wish. You get $7,000 for every positive mention, from what I understand. We could have been rich.
Well, there's this little thing called integrity.
Yeah, exactly. Who you should really be asking is if Jay Dyer's. No, okay, I'm kidding. No, he's not. I don't think so. I don't know. Thoughts on Brother Nathaniel wanting to go to the GOC? Yesterday, somebody said he joined the GOC. I'm like, how's that going to go? I mean, the only thing that's they're either going to do.
He's an ecumenist. Why?
Yeah, I don't think he would, because he went off on us and now he just wants to join us. I think they're just saying that because they don't want to accept that they all followed this guy, and it turns out he was a grifter for a bunch of money, and now they all feel like suckers. So they're like, he's going to the GOC. No, he left us years ago, and he burned us, and he, even in his recent interviews, lies about us.
Just depends if he's on his medicine that day or not.
Yeah, so my guess is it's more likely he'll join some evangelical group than it is that he'll join True Orthodox group, but that just makes them feel better, I think. Now let's see here. MPC says Fed. Alexander Zerka says thanks. Eater Bug says in cahoots with the True Israel. Absolutely, we are all in cahoots with the True Israel. He says, did you see the gay liar again about it? Lie again about us? If someone knows, let me know. I didn't see it. I didn't hear anything. I know that there was something a few weeks ago.
What? This is news to me. What? What's happening?
Well, supposedly he made a stupid comment of us again. This time, trying to say that we're all affiliated with the U.S. government and the intelligence.
Wait, who's saying that?
Dyer.
He's an idiot. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Says the guy who's an actual Fed.
Alexander Zerka says, do you all recognize St. Joseph the Hesychast? And yes, we do. Well, I mean, yep. I do. And but if you look at, there was somebody asking about him in our X lately, and Unseen Warfare posted a very useful monograph about the life of Elder Joseph and how ensconced he was in the True Orthodox world. So yeah, we are, but they're trying to rewrite history, so they sanitize and lie about the whole thing. Didn't Irenaeus of Jerusalem go into communion with an old calendar group at one point? Yeah, he did. He went into communion with the Royal Korea Communion. Atomic Lead says same thing. Eater. I'm guessing Jay Dyer probably does. He's not. I don't know that if he gets paid by him. I doubt it, but he's definitely one of their useful idiots.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Useful idiot. There you go.
I mean, I could have also said fellow traveler, but useful idiot sounded way better.
Well, it's more accurate. Yeah, we're all about accuracy here.
Yeah. Eater of Bug says everyone pointing fingers to Israel, CIA, KGB. Meanwhile, they're all on the same team at the end of the day. That's right. They're all on Team Apologetics Inc. and they're all about money. Just sent you at Twitter when Gay Liar talks about us. Oh boy, so we got to put it on now.
Oh no!
But
you got to regurgitate the same thing about all the mobile homes in Florida and all that crap.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
Come on, at least be original. Come on.
Well, he's been talking about us more than he's ever talked about us before this year.
Well, he's trying to beef up that Discord he restarted. Yeah. It's all a racket. Apologetics Inc., like you said.
Viad Eater speaks truth. Viad Versus says, did John Maximovich have bishops in France using the new calendar? He actually ordered them to switch to the old calendar, and from what I understand, he passed on before it was fully implemented. As I understood it, there were parishes that were on the old calendar as well as the new calendar. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all I can say there. Eater of Bug says, Jew Dyer, Gay Liar, Gay Crier. Do we have any more? No idea, but we are going to share this new comment. And here we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry for everyone who's just had enough. So who's here? Miranchuk, who I used to follow, but then I realized he was like an addict to Jay Dyer. Matt Kingpilled hosted. I used to follow their stuff. Posh Redneck, from what I've heard, he's an interesting person, but I've never interacted with him. Jason actually, if I remember correctly, unfollowed and blocked me because he was kind of like,
You know who's been disappointing lately? Because I unfortunately keep getting him in my feed is Cleave to Modernity.
Yeah.
He's like totally in the Kool-Aid. He's like swimming, doing back.
Well, the funny part is, and the sad part is to comment on that, because I do still follow him on X, etc., is that he's spending all his time attacking the Roman Catholic Church. But he's in communion with churches that effectively want communion with that church.
Correct.
So,
and use their tactics, actually.
So it's like there's like some cognitive concept missing here. I don't know. All right, let's put it up. Oh, wait, Alexander has joined. Hold on. Hello. Welcome. Hello?
Alexander.
Can you hear us?
I don't think I can hear y'all.
Yeah, I can hear you now. We hear you now. Greetings. God bless you. How are you doing?
All right, wait. Say something.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yes, now I can. Okay.
All right, awesome. So what's your question, Alexander?
Well, I don't have really a targeted question, but I thought this would just be easier than going back and forth in the chat.
I completely understand. Fire away.
Yes. So I guess what I've been curious about lately is, over time, at least from what I've read, and that it's very limited. So, there's a possibility that I just don't have the full scope of things.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've read, I see a lot of Florinite saints and saints who from the 1900s who are recognized in World Orthodoxy or at least in the more traditional groups in World Orthodoxy, and then also by True Orthodox. And I see a lot of quotes of them talking about, potential schism versus actual schism and these sorts of things. And so my question would be, what made the position of the GOC Kallenikos and some of the Florinite groups evolve to what it is today? What from the World Orthodox side made the position on grace change?
Oh, well, I mean, I have an answer for that. I don't know.
Depends when you started in the 1900s. Like if it was in the 30s, it would be a different answer than like 1965, for example.
Okay, so I guess it may be easier to just talk about specific quotes.
Okay.
I guess Metropolitan Chrysostomos of Florina, when he's talking about potential versus actual schism in earlier in the 1900s, what made him change his position over time, even though that was post 1935?
Well, actually, I mean, if I can jump into that, what you're talking about is the letter of 1937 was when Metropolitan Chrysostom began to change. But what happens is, obviously, those with Bishop Matthew and Bishop Matthew disagree. They separate because they're like, that's their betrayal of the original position. What ends up happening is that in 1950, ultimately after the death of Bishop Matthew or St. Matthew, Metropolitan Chrysostom returns in 1950 to the original confession. So one thing you have to realize is that this all occurred within the lifetime of the same man. So pretending that there was a variant position, because it really didn't come back until after the Callisto Schism and the formation of the Synod in Resistance as an acceptable worldview. So that's one point I should make. The other point I should make is the concept of shared saints looks good on paper because you have, like, for example, all of their, their quotations, and they sound, but usually they're contextually taken out of context by the new calendarists. Oftentimes their lives are taken out of context. A great example is Elder Joseph the Hesychast. And so you have to realize that by misrepresenting true orthodoxy, like Elder Joseph was involved in discussions between Florinites and Matthewites. he had nothing in there for the new calendarists, but they insert themselves into the hagiography later. This is also true with Saint Mircea. They literally changed her to her secular name and added on a dream from some old woman that supposedly she was really Sophia and was never really a nun under Metropolitan Cyprian. When you see this process in aggregate, you start realizing that the people you're dealing with don't have shared opinions with you.
Mhm.
They're hijacking your opinions and trying to make it look like those are theirs.
Yeah, Metropolitan Demetrius actually had a video, I think it was called Elder Ephraim of Arizona or something like that, where he kind of addresses the issue of the World Orthodox recognizing saints, and he's kind of calling them out because he was saying this is how they actually lived out their life, and is contrary to what the World Orthodox are saying because they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
Now,
I watched that video. I guess I would be curious, when you mention hagiographies and Elder Joseph, what would be y'all's understanding of Saint Ephraim of Arizona's view, or Elder Ephraim of Arizona's view on Saint Joseph and his time with Saint Joseph? Why would he release something that's
There's
fabricated?
contradictions in the story, that's for sure.
and partially the motivation, again, remember, Elder Ephraim was for a short time under the ROCOR before it was the ROCOR MP, before a lot of it became the ROCOR MP. And he was literally threatened by the ecumenical patriarch. So the point is that he was creating, for lack of a better word, he was creating.
There are actually writings of him talking and saying like the ROCOR before the Union was like the only real place for him to go, and then all of a sudden, bippity boppity boo, he gets a phone call from Patriarch of Constantinople, and then all of a sudden his mind changes. And that's something you'll notice about Elder Ephraim of Arizona. His mind changes quite a bit because he either has a quote unquote vision or he's led a certain way by certain bishops.
Exactly. Orthodox Traditionalist says someone wrote a book about that. I'm not sure which book you're talking about because I'll be glad to recommend it. Ephraim was in the GOC. We have him on recording saying that. So this is my point, is that the presentation that you're getting of what these fathers and elders in many cases are saying is distorted, and it has often been rewritten in the service of the patriarchate. So you have to, in that sense, like even Father Seraphim Rose, when you think about it, Saint Seraphim Rose, he like his work actually mentions who they're in communion with, but because of the propaganda around it and changing of his actual words in his books, there are people in World Orthodoxy willing to try to argue to the death that Father Seraphim was one of theirs, and he totally wasn't.
Let me ask you a question. So let's say somebody met Elder Ephraim before his repose and brought these questions about ecumenism and the things that his Patriarch of Constantinople was doing. Would a person that was saintly or address those issues and speak clearly about the matter, do you think? Especially if there was heresy involved?
I mean, I think you would speak clearly, and I'll be 100% frank. I venerate Elder Ephraim as a saint, and I think that he would speak clearly, and I think he did. I think if you read A Call from the Holy Mountain, he spoke very clearly about the heresy of ecumenism.
The reason I asked is because I have met him in person and addressed those issues with him, and he chose silence instead of speaking clearly. So that's why I asked that.
Yeah, I will say this. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Orthodox Traditionalist says, look at the last article I wrote about Ephraim. He was a flip-flopper. I am putting a link to that article in the chat.
And he's inconsistent at best, to be honest.
I don't want to be the guy. We don't want to be the guy that, ruins your morning breakfast. The whole point is that, from our perspective, we don't share the opinion of Elder Ephraim that many new converts do because they don't know the history or what happened. And so that's part of the if we're doing that, it's not coming from a place of like hate or anything. It's coming from a place of understanding where he really came from.
Yeah, and he
I don't know
said
if
you
that
need to
makes
stick with the Patriarch of Constantinople, but he would not clarify why.
So I read Nectarios's article and I did appreciate it. I think that well, I disagree with the conclusion that he flip-flopped, and I think that he,
He is
I
a
would agree with
flip-flopper.
what he originally wrote in A Call from the Holy Mountain, which I think is orthodox, and I don't think anyone here would disagree with what he wrote then about Rokor and about ceasing commemoration of a heretical bishop.
Right, but then he did it himself.
Then he went in the communion with the heretical bishop. So
Spirit
Well, the
says, "Hi
question
everyone, God bless you, and in the fellowship of the Holy Spirit. Good morning,
Well,
all."
the question become just like, what is the ecclesiological, like, what is the ecclesiology? Because if
what?
the ecclesiology, well, of Elder Ephraim, for example, so if for example, when we talk about Papa Ephraim of Catanakia, who was
Mhm.
ordained as an old calendarist,
Mhm.
well, his ordination was accepted as valid by Saint Joseph's Brotherhood.
Mhm.
Because St. Joseph's Brotherhood was also old calendarist.
Right. So then the question, and then Elder Ephraim comes under the ecumenical patriarch later. So
Mhm.
Much
obviously,
later.
the ecclesiology includes both the old count, or from Elder Ephraim's perspective, included both the old calendarists and the new calendarists.
But the whole point is he was not, okay, let me put it to you this way. He was consistent until he wasn't. After he got the call from Constantinople, that's when all of his positions started to change. Otherwise, before that, he was just a standard Greek old calendarist monk or elder with a large following. Orthodox traditionalist says he was a flopper. He went from Matthewites to the GOC to the EP to Rokor MP to the EP, the very definition of flip flopping. Again, the problem is that the marketing around Elder Ephraim has been enormous in Greece and in America. Part of that,
Yeah, but he still suffers from the Elder Paisios problem where there's mixed. I mean, even in Greece, there's mixed.
yeah, same thing. And that's the same problem. But Elder Paisios is heavily promoted in Greece and America by the patriarchal authorities, particularly because of his loyalty to the ecumenical patriarchate.
Yes.
So
well, that's the only reason. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is something to keep in mind, that from our perspective, these people are betraying orthodoxy. They're not the standard of orthodoxy. Because if you are going to join under a patriarch who is blessing with the Roman Catholics as of last week with the Pope, that's not orthodox. Like, and it can never be orthodox.
I mean, here's the thing: words can be flowery, but you judge them by their fruits, which are usually their actions. And especially in the case of Elder Ephraim, he's all over the place.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I'm sorry that you venerate him, and I have to say this to you, but I mean, I've been around the block long enough to see how these things play out. So,
I guess my main question is just if somebody were to hold, I think to be charitable, if we were to say that Elder Ephraim held to an ecclesiology that included, when I say moderate old calendars, I mean Florinite succession being valid, and also having, the new calendars also have valid succession, basically a Cyprianite view of ecclesiology.
yeah, but Cyprianism was rejected.
Yeah,
So,
by the Cyprianites themselves.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you would say
you
today
can see, you can
that
actually see Cyprianism in World Orthodoxy, not in Old Calendarism, which is the fun part.
So you would say to hold to a view that the Florinite old calendars and the new calendars have grace until there's a council would be heretical at this point.
Well, I would say that the idea that both sides calling each other heretical would be orthodox at the level of heresy itself would be heretical. A thing can be a thing or it cannot, but it can't be both.
Let me ask you a question: if a body was heretical, is there grace there?
If a body's heretical before a synodal verdict, I think there's grace. Yeah.
Okay, well, the Roman Catholics never had a synodal verdict. Do they have grace?
Well, I think that Blackernay 1285 would be the condemnation of the Roman Catholics.
So they had grace from 1054 to 1285?
Yes.
No, they didn't. And so the point is that goes against actual Orthodox ecclesiology.
Well, let me ask you another question. Are anathemas, do they set the boundaries of the church?
Well, an anathema would be recognizing that somebody's outside of the church.
Yes. So that would be a boundary, correct?
Yes.
So when did the Roman Catholics fall under anathema?
1285. And
Really?
they also fell under the anathemas of the Eighth Ecumenical Council. But I think for all intents and purposes, when they actually fell under anathema, were fully outside the church, would be 1285.
Well, that's what what I call the estrangement theory, which is common among ecumenist circles. Certainly, multiple sides were anathematizing each other in the 11th century. So that's historically wrong. But more importantly, that kind of view, I think, is partially what is coloring your thinking. But whether you realize it or not, it is actually already an ecumenist reading of history. And so, this is part of the reason why it gets confusing, because, most people is found I assume you're on the new calendarist side of things, correct?
Well, I think that the new calendar is a heresy.
Okay.
But I'm in World Orthodoxy, yes.
Okay, you're in World Orthodoxy, right? Okay, so my point is this.
So you're in communion with new calendarists.
I'm under an old calendar bishop, but I'm in communion with new calendars, yes.
Okay, well...
But it's a heresy, correct?
Yeah, if it's a heresy, it's a heresy.
So you're in communion with a heresy?
I would prefer to not be in communion with them, but I don't have a way to...
So you're actually falling under your own heresy of resisting within, huh?
I don't think that I would fall under a heresy, because I think we both understand each other's theology, and so why I wouldn't fall under a heresy just by being...
It sounds like you have a poor understanding of ecclesiology.
Yeah,
ecclesiology is talking about where the church is.
If you're saying that the new calendar is a heresy, you're saying that the new calendarists are heretics. And if you're saying that the new calendarists are heretics, you're in communion with heretics.
Right.
Okay, so here's my point. That's why you could have what you consider this charitable view of, like new calendarists.
Yeah, we appreciate the charity, but at the end,
but it's misguided fundamentally because it's ecclesiologically wrong. And what I mean by that is that, and I highly recommend Subdeacon Nectarius' book, The History of Resistance, on this. But the idea that historically the heretics and the Orthodox could coexist isn't a real thing. And if we're being dead honest, when we talk about, say, for example, the True Orthodox specifically, the new calendarist authorities, the bishops, do not recognize the True Orthodox as potentially having grace or anything of the sort. We're just schismatics to them, and our position reflects that, which is the same position, because that is the actual ecclesiologically consistent position.
If they're, Father, to correct a little bit, if they're generous, we're schismatics. If they're not, then we're straight up heretics from their
perspective. I don't see what would... I want to clarify, as an Orthodox layman, I don't see what would make you a heretic. We share a common faith.
Because they say that we set up a parallel church structure.
That's not heresy.
Yeah, but to be fair, Reader John, I will say this, because I'm going to lay the full force of this on Alexander. And what I mean by that is, take, for example, what's the name of that super anti-ecumenist bishop in Greece? The one that was for the COVID shots?
Seraphim of Praise.
Yeah, he lists the old calendarists as heretics in his anathema.
Which one?
His anathemas on Orthodoxy Sunday.
Which bishop? Which one of the two?
Seraphim of Piraeus.
Seraphim of Piraeus, okay.
So he actually lists us as heretics.
On the Sunday of Orthodoxy?
Correct. And there are other New Calendar Greek bishops who also list us as heretics on the Sunday of Orthodoxy.
Are you aware of what the foundation is for saying that? Because I don't see... I understand with somebody
because they revise their own history.
Yeah. Because they want to make it sound like we're crazy people. And
because the first New Calendar Archbishop actually wrote a paper before that saying that if they had moved to the New Calendar, they would fall into schism. Yeah, even though he wrote that, he did it anyways.
But there are some World Orthodox hierarchs that, allegedly at least have blessed people to go to the GOC.
Well, no, there's a difference between blessing people to go to the GOC and recognizing their mysteries.
I can think
You're
of
talking
two.
about Luke
You
of-
don't bless
he's
people.
ta- you're talking about you're talking about Archbishop Luke of Syracuse. He's the only one.
You don't bless people to go to a false church, though.
Name one more bishop besides Archbishop Luke of Syracuse.
I can't, but I don't.
I know
understand.
because Archbishop Luke of Syracuse actually lived through all of the schisms.
I can actually think
Right,
of
and-
another one, but he's deceased now.
And that's why I'm asking.
He doesn't count if he's dead.
That's why I'm asking kind of what the problem would be with having the view that, because this is what I see in the saints of that are, I mean, we could call them shared saints, we could call them whatever you want to call them, but
Yeah, but are they
I
really
prefer
shared saints?
I prefer hijacked saints.
But are they really shared if they have different hagiographies?
If they have to lie to put them in their camp, or they really
Well, I
have
can
their
think of
camp?
one like right off the top of my head, like Saint Nicholas Planus.
right. So Saint Nicholas, right? So,
Yeah.
or Saint Euronymous of Egina,
Yeah, exactly. That's
So-
another one. Yep.
but those are all saints, and I would recognize them as such. But those, I don't see
Depends
why
who you ask too.
that both groups have grace. That's my sticking point. I'm not dealing with a situation where I deny, grace in the Florinite groups. I'm talking about why we can't say that both have grace until a council.
Why can't we include the Matthewites? I include the Matthewites because they're true Orthodox. So why would I include the New Calendarists when the New Calendarists aren't willing to include the Matthewites?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of concerns from Florinite or moderate.
You're not the Florinite.
You know what's interesting, Father? He's actually applying Cyprianism,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I asked.
which the whole calendarists never actually applied the ideas of Cyprianism. It's funny that World Orthodoxy actually lives them out.
But I would think that the hierarchs who bless or who recognize grace in the sacraments of old calendarists in
All
World
one of them.
Oh, yeah, it's one bishop.
abide by Cyprianism, don't you think? That's the only way to justify serving a liturgy.
Yeah, but we don't recognize Cyprianism.
That's the point. Nobody recognizes
That's
it.
why I'm coming on, is I want to know why you don't recognize Cyprianism.
Because it was a bad theory. It was a bad theory between.
Well, it's saying
1937
one
and-
part of the church was healthy and the other part was ill, right?
Until a conciliar verdict, yeah.
Okay, so so was Arianism a heresy until it was condemned?
It was a heresy, yeah. I mean, I recognize that it's a heresy.
Was it a
Uh-huh.
heresy before it was condemned?
Yes.
Okay. So a
just
heresy it exists before it's
So
condemned, right?
So is Cyprianism a heresy before it was condemned in council?
I don't think that Cyprianism is a heresy. That's why that's the begging the
Well,
question.
Forgive me,
you'll be at
Alexander.
odds with the true Orthodox then.
Forgive me for saying this, Alexander, but it's a cope. And I know that that's going to be a kind of a hard thing to. I know I'm not trying to judge you personally, etc. But people holding to Cyprianism in the New Calendar Church in 2025 is a cope. It's a way of saying we know they're right, but we're not going to say we're wrong. The simple reality is that these questions were settled decades ago, and in many cases mutually. You want to say, for example, that there are the New Calendarists and the Old Calendarists both constitute the church, but neither the New Calendarists nor the Old Calendarists actually believe this. Moreover, in the question of whether there are bishops who will bless people to go to the GOC, there's one. There's absolutely one in the ROCOR MP, and that is because he's old and remembers that he was in communion with the GOC, and therefore he has a very different perspective
And they
than
still
most
have
of the ROCOR.
he still has contact with people because he
Yeah.
remembers that they were in communion.
For all we know, he may have a confession, of true orthodoxy that's just waiting for when he passes. So we just don't know. But the point is, that's not normal. It's not common, and it doesn't really exist in world orthodoxy. I mean, that's the truth. I know that's painful, but that's the truth. They anathematize us just as much as we anathematize them.
Okay, so I guess from the standpoint of old calendarist synods, I understand the anathemas against the new calendar and against the new calendarists. Where are the anathemas from World Orthodox synods against the old calendarists?
They were done. There's anathemas against the Catacomb Church by the Moscow Patriarchate. There were anathemas done in Greece in the 1930s against the True Orthodox.
While they
Anathemas
were
done in the
persecuting.
while they were persecuting them.
Yeah.
Anathemas in Romania against the True Orthodox. Anathemas
While
in
they were
Bulgaria
persecuting
against the
them.
True Orthodox. Like the reality is much uglier.
Do you know about all the violence that happened during that time period?
Yeah, they
I'm
killed
well
our
aware
people.
of the violence and the persecutions,
But
and I
it
think
doesn't
that that was
matter.
a terrible thing that happened, and I denounce that.
But your leaders don't.
Yeah.
They
I
don't.
can't control what my leaders do, right? I can only tell you in honesty that
Should you flee from heresy?
Yes, you should flee from heresy, and you should
So
cease.
why are you in communion with new calendarists if you think they're heretics?
That kill people.
Because I have no option but to be in communion with them. There's
No,
no
you
option.
do. You do.
If I go to a true Orthodox or an old calendarist synod, then I have to
That's True
condemn them
Orthodox.
prior
Yeah.
to a council.
And right now you're condemning them, but you want to do it from the inside.
Well,
which makes sense.
here's a little twist for you though. Who split off from whom?
In what case?
So up until what was it, 1924?
Yeah, 1920.
There's no such thing as a new calendarist, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So who split off from whom?
As a matter of faith.
Faith, confession, calendar,
as a matter
everything.
of faith, the old calendarists in Greece.
Why did the new calendar happen?
Because of innovation and ecumenism.
Yeah, and when did that start? That stupid Congress in 1923, right?
Right. So, I'm like I said, the old calendars stayed the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, how did they do
The new
this?
calendars innovated.
So
How did the old calendars innovate?
Sorry.
How did the True Orthodox innovate? I want to hear that one.
No, I said they didn't. I said they.
No,
stayed
they did not innovate.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool.
So you see what path I'm leading you down?
About Greece is that the schism was caused. The responsibility for the schism lies with the innovators, and I agree.
That's correct. So
What you're in communion with.
So just break communion with
So
them.
flee from heresy, go back to the original. We're the original.
I'm just uncomfortable with the idea of synodally anathematizing a group and saying they have no grace prior to a synod.
But all of your synods
Yeah,
have
but
that too.
that's not a patristic position. That's an orthobro position.
Yep.
That's a Father Peter Here's position.
Yep.
I don't
think that saying that it's a Father Peter Here's position discredits the position. I think we should just discuss.
Well, he discredits the position.
What bishop supports him?
Yeah, exactly. He has no bishop. So, but
Orthodox Traditionalist does mention. Do you have my GOC Rocore book on you? I don't. However, because it's downstairs, but I highly recommend Alexander that you would get that book. Orthodox Field says local councils can condemn heresy and heretics, and there doesn't need to be an ecumenical council for that.
I believe they even sell it in the Jordanville Vic store, so that should tell you something.
Yeah, because the influence.
So what is the value? What is the value of a clean conscience, Alexander? Is it where is the nearest true Orthodox church to you? Is it too far away? Is it better to align yourself with the true Orthodox, even if they are at a distance, than to go to a world Orthodox compromised church in light of the scriptures saying that it's great to have a clean conscience, to walk in the truth? It's more virtuous to do that than to continue on, So how do you mix with that? Like Psalm 1, blessed are those who walk not in the way of the ungodly, nor sit in the seat of the scornful, nor stand in the way of sinners. The Lord rewards faithfulness. What do you make of that?
I think it's very valuable, and I was discussing this recently with a friend of mine about, I wouldn't in good conscience be able to be under a heretical hierarch directly, right? Because I think that having a conscious communion with somebody who's in heresy is a problem.
But you're heretical adjacent.
But I don't think that adjacent, I don't think that makes the leap to the same thing. I don't think it's the same burden.
So is heresy a cancer to the body of Christ?
I think that's a way you could describe it. It's an illness, certainly.
It's a poison. You know, like the Apostle Paul said that there would be
Kind
those
of
who
like
would
patristic
infiltrate
language.
and try and pull people away from the true faith. In other words, guard, protect. The book of Jude is all about protecting the faith. What hesitates? Loss of friends, loss of notoriety, and loss of social prestige. You know, in the midst of the faces of all these people, are you willing to take up the cross and die to self? Look at the royal path is the cross. The Lord rewards that kind of faith. He will never leave you nor forsake you.
I just worry because I see you falling into that Orthodox Presbyterianism kind of mentality, where yes, that bishop over there is heretical, but my bishop's not, even though he can celebrate with that heretical bishop. You see what I'm saying?
Orthodox traditionalists. I am at the article at the website. It looks like footnote number 8, and maybe I'm reading you wrong. It says Nicolaus Manus, the ecclesiology of Metropolitan Chrysostomus, presentation of the ecclesiological positions of the former Florinite confessor Chrysostomus Gavorido, 1955, in the form of questioning, which was Athens Genuine Orthodox Church of Greece, 2012. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but I do have the article up if you want to tell me more specifically what you were referring to. There's a lot of text online. I will say this: it is now the end of the second hour, the beginning of the third hour. We have a half an hour to go. We can stay till 11 unless we can make it to help keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR. Or on Give Send Go, just look in the description. Currently, we are $50 away from the goal.
Not 50 cents, $50.
$50. We have 150 so far. If we can get to 200, we will go to 11:30, and we will play the little jingle as soon as it happens. So hopefully that does happen. Sorry, I mentioned the 1920 New Calendar encyclical in there where they call us graceless. All right, I'm gonna head in and try to find that. 20. Yeah. So
and being in that sphere of influence affects a person. It waters down their own faith. When you become part of that culture, but to come out of that means that you're resisting it, you're walking away from it, and you're saying it's worldly, and you'll not participate in it, and that might rub a few shoulders, but that's the path that the believer walks according to what Christ has said.
I'm gonna post something up. Subdeacon Nectarios has been asking me to, and it's actually quite valid. It's from the Russian Church Abroad and the GOC of Greece. It is available online, but it's also available as a book. And it says here on April 24th, 1926, the State Church of Greece issued a very hard encyclical, protocol number 2398/2203, directed against the traditional Orthodox Christians. The encyclical states they separate themselves from the church and cut themselves off from the body of Christ, drawing upon themselves condemnation and excommunication, not knowing or perhaps forgetting that he who does not hear the church is as the heathen man and the publican. The decisions of the church are absolutely obligatory. He who does not obey them no longer belongs to her. He is deprived of the means of divine grace. He is separated and cut off from her, and he is liable to eternal torment. That is the actual teaching of the New Calendar Church of Greece.
That's the innovator speaking to the actual people who have been keeping the faith for up until that point.
So the question is, when you ask the question, like, for example, in Greece, where did the new calendarists attack the old calendars? Not only did they attack them, as you can see, the young lady in the picture there, that's St. Catherine Rautis. She was, I think, a mother of 2 or 3 kids and was protecting the priest from being attacked by the police and was killed by a police baton.
Our family prays for her intercession.
Yeah, she's considered a saint of our church.
Yeah.
So everything that you're asking for, the anathemas, the violence, the cruelty, it was done to us. It wasn't. We didn't reciprocate. We were.
I mean, beards were shaved. Marriages were annulled, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm aware of her story, and I do venerate her as a saint, and I do also acknowledge all the violence.
But your bishop doesn't. You're gonna run into some trouble here.
Could I ask you? Let me ask you a theoretic. Actually, before that, let me thank you for providing me with this information because I didn't know previously that there were synodal condemnations from the new calendar side. So I do appreciate that. That's not something I was aware of.
Yeah,
and that's
I
something
can put a link to the article, and I can also
I would
recommend
appreciate
the book.
that.
Yeah,
no
definitely
problem.
get the book too.
You know what it is too? It's a Phariseeism. It's they've created their own laws and they anathematize and condemn people who don't follow man's way. And that's what the Pharisees did to Christ. That's what the Pharisees did to the early Christians. They kicked them out of their synagogues. Well, they had true faith. And so this is what these guys are doing. They're hypocrites. They're liars, and their condemnation is, as the scripture says, as a sparrow flitting over its nest, so is the curse that is done without cause. You know, it's like you just brush it off your shoulders. Their curses are useless, weak, without power, and they're just leading people. They're envious. They're envious of people who stand up for truth. That's what they are. They hate them.
Were you trying to say something else, Alexander?
Oh no. I that was pretty much it. I guess my only question would be from a theoretical standpoint, or ecclesiologically, what would be wrong from your perspective with me going under a bishop who was a non-commemorator?
If such thing exists, probably we wouldn't
Does
have
that even
too much to
exist
say.
anymore?
I don't think that exists.
The only two that I remember from World Orthodoxy have been suspended. So I don't know if there's any.
I mean, their suspension wouldn't be valid in that case, right? Because if they're not stopping commemoration for heresy, I mean that's interesting.
If that's why they were suspended, then yeah, we would say that that's valid. If they suddenly turned around and said that ecumenism was
Well, I
evil
know
and
at least
heresy.
one of them was appealing to Canon 15. So
yeah,
he would need to be actually exhorted, for observing Canon 15. You're supposed to be respected.
Right.
You're not supposed to be punished. So
I asked somebody else who was, and I'm not saying that you all have one monolith of a position, so I'm not generalizing here. I just want to know your impression of this. I was told recently by someone who's an old calendarist that if I were to go under a non-commemorating priest or bishop, that if they held to Cyprianism, then that would be a disqualifier for them being part of the church.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately that is something that's problematic because ultimately by holding to that position, they're still not taking a clear stand. And this is something that, exists especially with the followers of Bishop Artemie in Serbia, or the reposed Bishop Artemie in Serbia. And effectively, he had to single-handedly consecrate bishops to keep his church organization going. But they're still trying to appeal to World Orthodoxy, which will never happen. The Serbian state church considers them a threat and a problem. And it won't be until they finally reach out to us, the True Orthodox, that they'll be able to at least get some semblance of a logical existence. And this is their problem, is that they don't want to do that. Just like Orthodox Traditionalist points out, he says the problem with the non-coms is that they're still mentally new calendarists and condemn the old calendarists anyway. And he's not wrong. But when they have their realization that they are canonically isolated, they're going to have to make a decision.
Well,
and that's where we come in.
The only ones I know of are, at this point, that would formally endorse Cyprianism are actually Vegan bishop, or how do you pronounce that?
Vagante?
Yeah, Vagante bishops.
Yeah.
I don't know any true Orthodox that would formally accept Cyprianism, and I know World Orthodoxy functionally works in the framework of Cyprianism, but I don't think they would formally accept Cyprianism. So you're rocking a hard spot, to be honest.
And you don't have to be there.
Yeah. I mean, functionally, they kind of work that way, but that could be fleeting, to be honest. It seems like the ecclesiology is changing on the fly right now, especially with Constantinople and Rome kind of kissy a lot lately.
So Alexander, how many true Orthodox people, priests, bishops do you know personally?
I don't know. I don't know many personally. I watched a lot of your stuff on NFTU, and you know, I'm on the
You know, one guy
cafe
or two guys, three guys.
And so I don't know anybody personally, really, but I'm aware of the arguments, I guess you could say.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
A personal question. What is your red line at this point? What would prevent you from continuing with World Orthodoxy?
What would make you say I've had enough?
I would need to see, because I mean, I know you've mentioned, you know, rubbing people the wrong way. I don't know how many of you were World Orthodox before this, but
I think just me.
Being when you're World Orthodox and you hold to the patristic positions on things, most people don't agree with you. So I'm not concerned about rubbing people the wrong way. What I would need to see is a clear patristic teaching from the early fathers of there being no grace of heretical bishops who were ordained inside of the church who fell into heresy. I would need to see that grace is deprived when they fall into heresy, basically.
I mean, that'd be kind of easy.
Have you ever seen this book?
I've seen it, but I haven't read it yet.
You really
I asked for
need
Christmas,
to read.
actually.
Yeah, it will change trust me, you will see the red line, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see it in the early church where, like, the Orthodox bishops would say, "Hey, that guy over there is Arian. Don't go there."
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's
they
as simple as
the
that.
stories, etc. They told them, don't even go into their churches. People fled to their homes during the story.
I can think of a bishop from Alexandria that was trying to avoid getting killed by people that supported the heretical position. So.
Yeah.
Well, so if somebody breaks communion, right? If a hierarch breaks communion with a heretical bishop, or stops commemorating him, then he's ceasing communion with him.
Yeah.
But he's not joining a different synod. He's just ceasing communion.
Right, but now what happens is go ahead.
I was just gonna say non-commemoration is not a permanent state. He's seeking out a true Orthodox bishop to commemorate.
Yeah, because what ends
That's
up
not
happening,
a permanent position. Yeah,
you see this throughout church history, and what ends up happening is bishops who stop commemorating. The next logical step, because they are bishops, is that they must enter into communion with true Orthodox bishops.
Yeah.
And so that is, once you have a number of bishops that this has happened, they have the right to a synod. This is in the canons. And they can then restart and reorganize church life accordingly. Yeah. And this has happened countless times in church history over the past 2,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, the most famous one I can think of is the Johannine Schism, right?
Yeah, that was St. John Chrysostom.
Yeah.
So if you have a bishop now that's non-commemorating, is he seeking out fellowship with others who are of like faith? Otherwise, we got a problem.
Yeah. Now, I have to ask, is your bishop really doing that?
No, of course not. I'm saying in a hypothetical, if I were to find because obviously I would feel much more comfortable under a hierarch who is not commemorating heretics.
Why?
Because I wouldn't want to be in communion with heretics if I can avoid it.
Right, but I mean, if you could, there's whole synods. They're called True Orthodox synods. Like, you could just.
What heresy do we fall under?
Them.
Well, I have concern with the ecclesiology and the anathematization of the new calendars.
Even though you've just witnessed that the new calendarists did it first.
I mean, on both sides, I have concern about that. I don't understand why there would be anathemas prior to.
Because it's an innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that issuing anathemas is fine, but to say that somebody has no grace prior to the church all coming together.
That's standard Orthodox
under
teaching.
anathema.
Well, yeah, but to clarify, that's standard Orthodox teaching. Heretics, schismatics, heads of unlawful assemblies do not have grace. They're outside the church.
Now, does it go off like a light switch?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is, so how do we know from your perspective, how do we know if a hierarch has grace based on his confession of faith?
Well, usually okay, go ahead, Father. No.
Let Father Joe.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is this, like, you can't treat, for example, everything as new. Like the case of St. Meletius, he had been ordained by heretics, which is why there were so many different splits and schisms. in the Church of Antioch. But if you're talking about 100 years later, after a lot of these things have happened, where most of the church kind of in the past 50 years has been aligned in one of these two camps, whether it's, the New Calendarists or the True Orthodox, then you must ask yourself the question, 5 generations in, is a Greek archdiocese bishop that has been involved in ecumenism and union with the papacy for the past 75 years, is he going to magically become True Orthodox? Like, even if one did, that would still be a matter of concern to whatever synod he joins. They'd have questions. Like, we're not going to sit here forever and just be like, oh, of course, brother, you finally found the truth, because they're something else completely now. So they have, their own kind of educational funnel system that's based around ecumenism. Like, a bishop made in that circumstance is going to be investigated if he comes over to the other side. And so you can't pretend it's 1941. It's not.
Yeah. Well, and
there are other issues involved too. If you look at a holistic picture, is it just a commemoration issue? What are the issues concerning the hierarchy's theology? What are all their positions on a lot of issues? And Alexander, you need to do, let's say, some digging as far as not just on one issue, but 10 or 20 issues, and then compare them to True Orthodoxy. It's a holistic viewpoint of life, of praxis, of prayer, of fastings, of your whole devotion to Christ. And so when you start to look at the whole picture, you're going to maybe start to see some distinctives and some things that are going to cut through some of the fog, but it takes some work on your part and some asking of questions. And so what happens sometimes is when you start digging and asking questions, you're going to make people uneasy. Go check it out. Start asking questions and see if they start getting uneasy, and see if they start to take a disliking of you. I mean, check it out. I know people have been through it.
If you even get an answer.
First off, I'm going to say this. Okay, first off, there's something Subdeacon Victorios has asked of me, so I'm going to read that. But I will say this. DP, excuse me. Hold on one second. DP just donated $26. We are at $176. We are $24 away from the goal to stay here till 11:30. So we have 14 minutes to go. $26. If we can make it, we'll stay for another half hour, and hopefully we can get more answers for Alexander. So, thank you so much for helping keep the lights on. We are $24 away from the goal. Come on, let's see if we can do it, and hopefully stay a little longer. So let's see here.
What are you going to say more about Father Boniface?
I just do some digging and find out. If you ask these priests and questions and start investigating, check that out and see what kind of response you get, because I have a fella that did the same, and he started to get the cold shoulder, and so I think it's I would say you need to do some of your homework and start doing some serious question asking. Have you done that?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I would say is thank you for taking all this time to talk with me about this. And the second thing, to answer Father Boniface's question, is yes, I have, and you're not the only people I'm asking questions of. I've asked questions of my priest and my hierarchy as well. My impression so far has been that at least the impression they've given me is that they don't know anything about old calendarism. Which
really?
To me is
that's interesting.
Wait, hold on. What is your hierarchy?
It's especially interesting because my priest has been a priest for quite a while. And I'm under the Serbians.
What jurisdiction are you?
Oh, they know about
the Serbs.
us.
Yeah. So
they know about
it. It was a little bit confusing to me.
St. Nikolai Velimirovich literally not only helped with Chrism for the True Orthodox of Greece, I just learned recently he advised Bishop Matthew. I have to see that.
Not to mention St. Justin Popovich.
Yeah, St. Justin Popovich, who actually declared the patriarch anathema and basically said, "Don't have him at my funeral." Oh, they know. Trust
know.
me, the Serbian new calendarists, even though they're technically on the old calendar, I call them Serbian new calendars. They know this is why
They
there
also
are
cut off Rokor.
yeah, and that's part of the reason why the whole they're kind of like the most active Serbian clergy know about us. It's interesting that what's his name? What's Father Deacon bro? And
Deacon Ananias.
Father Dr. Deacon Ananias talks so
Yes.
much nasty stuff about us while sounding so ignorant because that's the party line for them. But ironically, he's just ignorant. Hold on. Tom Katsafanis gave us a $13.99 super sticker, helping keep the lights on. We are $10 away from staying alive, folks, and staying for another half hour.
I think what Father's trying to tell you is their tactic is to play dumb. Because they know very much.
They're playing you by saying they don't know.
Yes.
Did the schism in the Serbian church in South America and in North America, did that have to do with the old calendar?
No.
You talking about the free Serbs?
Yes, he's talking about
the free Serbs. Okay, because that was what I was told was, okay, so this is kind of similar, and I didn't think it was really that similar.
It wasn't that similar, but there were dalliances where they considered like the free Serbs talked to. I know Archbishop Maxentios. And I know that like Rokor didn't recognize the free Serbs. The free Serbs were a confused group, and then they got reabsorbed. And then when the Rokor split occurred in 2001, after 2000, some free Serbs joined them. So there are free Serb parishes that are under the Rokor MP. I mean the Rokor Ankofungal, and other bishops. So yeah, it's complicated.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, my priest has been a priest in the Serbian diocese for quite a long time and was a secretary to a bishop. So I was a little bit confused and played a role in mediating the free Serb situation. And so I was a little bit.
He knows who we are.
I think I know who your priest is. Yeah, he knows.
But I guess my question would be, I don't know. My main sticking point, obviously, is when does grace depart? And I think all I would need to see is a patristic examination of that. And I know you've already pointed out history of resistance.
Well, I was going to point out, it isn't history of resistance, but I was going to point out, Subdeacon Nectario sent over to me a quote from St. Basil's letter 188, which says, those who have apostatized from the church had no longer in them the grace of the Holy Spirit, for it ceased to be imparted when the continuity was broken. The first separatists had received their ordination from the fathers and possessed a spiritual gift by the laying on of hands. But they were broken off who had become laymen, and because they no longer were able to confer on others the grace of the Holy Spirit, from which they themselves are fallen away, they had no authority either to baptize or to ordain. And let me see if I can actually just put that on the screen in case you just didn't see it.
Yeah. So the real debate going on here is when did they cut themselves off, and who cut themselves off?
And one thing that I see across even the spectrum of Christianity, along with the Protestants, is the lack of power, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. And so a lot of people, let's say in Protestant circles, are negative, and they have no real positivity. They have no love for the church, grace, mercy, forgiveness. And so look at these aspects of spiritual life in the churches that you're in. But a lot of times they'll be negative. Oh, we don't like the old calendarists. They're this and they're that. And how much slander are they throwing out? But on the other hand, so they can be very negative in attacking their opposition. But in a way, they're also showing their weakness in that they don't have the fortitude to step forward and take a position of virtue and godliness. See? And this is rampant throughout the whole world. I mean, it's everywhere. People don't have the power because they don't have Christ. So if you want to say, where is being graceless, you can say, where the grace is connected to power. It's like, where is the fortitude and the virtues to step forward in the Spirit of Christ to be that Christ person in your walk to own the name of a Christian. And so when you see people backing off, then you're going to see more of you're lacking power, you're lacking grace, and you can tell them, why are you backing off? And so then you'll see more. We're talking about here the cutting off. Then we're seeing here a lacking of grace and of power and of virtue in their personal lives and in their praxis and in their ministries.
And I will say.
Oh, go ahead, Alexander.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I will say I appreciate that, and I do see a lot of the strength you're describing in Metropolitan Demetrius, and I think that he's a wonderful hierarch. For me, it's just a question of where is the church, and I'm not denying that it's in the GOCK. I just want to know where else it could be.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I knew somebody that was World Orthodox that actually went to the monastery in Kovalskil, and they said that the grace there was palpable. You know what that means?
Yeah. But I would say the same of the Ephraimite monasteries, and I think that's. I mean, I've been to the Ephraimite monasteries, and I think that there's grace there, and I see the love and beauty of Christ there.
Well, I mean, there's grace and relics, but before I get into that, I will say, with 6 minutes on the clock, Reconquista Orthodox for $9.99, who says, I was World Orthodox, going for 4 years. Now I'm in True Orthodox, not going for 4 years. Don't be World Orthodox gay, not in the True Orthodox, not gay. Don't be gay, Alexander. Best argument. And with that, we have broken the banner. We've broken the barrier. We're at 200. We have made it. We're staying till 11:30. And so we have to play the sound. And here we go. Wrong sound.
Wrong sound, Father. Winning. Happy birthday.
And they always thanks for helping out and making it woo. All right. All right. So let's see here. Let's get back to the topic now that we are here till 11:30.
I guess if I could follow up and just see, what are your impressions of Saint Seraphim Rose's description of communion and his kind of condemnation of the view of Father Michael Askell and the Hakna on ecclesiology?
Well, first off, it's important to not say things like Father Michael Askell and the Hakna, because the Hakna did not exist until after the death of Father Seraphim Rose. So we don't want to project later ecclesiastical realities on the past. So that's the first thing to consider, because there are people who are in the GOC who were in Hakna who had a lot of respect for Father Seraphim personally, such as Father David Black of the OCA, who eventually became Metropolitan Sergius Black of the GOC.
Is Holy Transfiguration not? Could you clarify just so I can understand what would you see as the difference?
Father or Saint Seraphim reposed in 1982, right?
Yeah.
But HGM was still in communion with Rocor.
Right, it was part of Rocor in that time, and he had a problem.
I guess what I meant was just his concern about HGM.
Okay, well, yeah, but his concern about HTM varied depending on the topic. So, in some things, for example, he viewed HTM very negatively, like with the stuff with St. Augustine. But in other things, he worked with people who would also later be in Hakna, like Father Nikitas Palasis. So, his view of Boston was specifically on Father Pantaleimon and a couple of other fathers. It was not a reflection on all of these people, like all the Greek parishes or anything like that.
And their love for Romanides type stuff.
Yeah, he was not a fan of that. But then again, Romanides was like very popular with everyone back then.
Yeah, at the time, yep.
So I guess if I could bring up a specific quote and maybe we could go over that and I could get your impression in your interpretation of what he's saying.
Sure.
So this is from letter 313 from Father Seraphim.
Have a good night, Subdeacon Victorious. God bless.
From 1981. And he says, unfortunately, the result was something quite different, and the past two issues of Orthodox Christian Witness have contained articles by Father Michael Askell and by Holy Transfiguration Monastery, which not only make statements very disrespectful towards the Metropolitan statement, but also set forth an ecclesiology which I believe is totally foreign to our Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, that the Orthodox churches of Moscow and Constantinople, and presumably all the other local Orthodox churches which are in communion with them, are without grace, and that their bishops are no bishops, etc. These are statements of such a serious kind that if they are allowed to go uncorrected, they will create the strong impression that our church has indeed become what our enemies would like to think it is, a sect.
Okay. And I guess, what is your question?
I'm just wondering what your interpretation of that would be, and
Well, I would
because
say that
obviously when
I would say that Father Seraphim, had he lived longer, most likely would have been a very high supporter of Metropolitan Cyprian, because he was following, and you can see this from his letters, he was following what was happening with what we call the Callisto schism now historically, which eventually did produce the Synod and Resistance. So he had communications with Etna, which was, under Metropolitan Cyprian. He was positively disposed to this idea already, that maybe, like, are we ready to judge the new calendars without grace? Now, keep in mind, in the 1970s and 80s, we're talking about a very different kind of situation. The new calendars were in complete chaos in Greece. This was leading up to the Mars Hill decision in 1982 that legalized the True Orthodox, so on and so forth. It was, I would say, not a great time to be a new calendarist, and
Especially
so
the actions of Patriarch Demetrius with the Pope. Yeah.
so there was already so much chaos in the new calendars that people were being horrified, were joining the church abroad, so on and so forth. That I think that Father Seraphim coming into this milieu, he would have been more positively disposed to the idea, seeing so many new calendars fleeing and joining the Rocor, that he would have been less inclined to say, like, well, they're graceless because look at how many of their people are suddenly coming to us.
Well, and to be fair, the Boston group had a very sectarian mindset as well. I think that's maybe what he was addressing. And the mindset, it wasn't just Boston, that there was like different parishes that also adopted the same mindset. And I think it was more of a warning versus like an observation of an actual reality at the time. He didn't want that slippery slope to happen, but he didn't get to see how things played out in the 90s, unfortunately. So
One thing, it's interesting because remember that Father Seraphim was struggling with this question, and I'm looking here at a letter of Palm Sunday in 1978. So this is about 3 years
4 years.
before your 4 years before your letter. And what he says is, the fact of not merely disagreements, but actual schism is, alas, all too real in the 20th century Orthodox Church. The Church of Greece since 1924 has been split in two. About 1/4 of the people of Greece and probably over half the monks and nuns belong to the quote-unquote old calendarist jurisdictions which have refused to follow the innovators of the latest patriarchs of Constantinople and have broken communion with them. For this, they have suffered persecutions, imprisonments, even martyrdom at the hands of their Orthodox brothers, the Greek government, supported by the Patriarch of Constantinople, and the State Church of Greece. The latter, the new calendarist churches, have excommunicated the old calendarists, proclaiming their holy mysteries to be without grace. Until very recently, and perhaps even now, I don't know, children born of old calendarist marriages were officially registered with the government as illegitimate, something even the Protestants do not suffer in Greece. In return, the old calendarists have excommunicated the new calendarists, and some of them, but not all, have declared and believe their mysteries to be without grace. There are entirely separate Orthodox hierarchies in Greece, neither thus having any communion with the other. So I bring this up because, and Atomic Lead, have a good night. Bless you. I bring this up because the point is, Father Seraphim was fully cognizant of the realities in Greece that we're kind of explaining to you now. So in that sense, he's coming at it from an interior True Orthodox perspective, a Russian True Orthodox perspective, and feels that the Greeks are perhaps being too strict, but that is because of the confusion of the Russian church and the catacomb church, which we could get into. But the whole point is, he understood what was really at stake here, even though he may have taken a softer view. And And I think that would have translated most likely, because remember, 2 years after his death, Metropolitan Cyprian's opinion paper came out, and he probably would have been like, I endorse this. So who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because I think that's my reading of him as well, and that's why I ask, and I see that in some of the other saints of that century. And so what I'm kind of trying to understand is what changed between the 70s and today that made it so that every old calendarist jurisdiction now declares the new calendars to be graceless and outside the church.
Well, I mean, I think that was happening at that time. I mean, you got to remember, I respect that you call Saint Seraphim, but you have to remember he was never in communion with world orthodoxy.
And I think that the progress of history, the movement of the ecumenism becoming even worse and worse, just continued to develop into where the true Orthodox was just saying, you're leaving here, you're apostatizing there, you're incorrect here, you're in error there. It's just been a forward movement downhill for the ecumenical movement. So therefore, the heat rises as far as the criticisms and things like that. It's kind of like a natural development to say you're continuing to walk in error and you're not getting any better. And so, it keeps snowballing, and so you have more of a situation today than you did yesterday, So I think you're just looking at the answer to that question or observation would be historical development.
Well, Father
Continued progress downhill.
Father Boniface, isn't it interesting, though, that Saint Seraphim never was tempted to go to world orthodoxy?
Yep.
He was always communion with the true Orthodox.
Exactly.
Well, he didn't have formal communion with.
He didn't have any communion.
He accepted members of of new calendars jurisdictions to commune at his parish, at his monastery.
That's not true.
As a priest, that's what the whole point is, that he would be receiving them. He did receive people from world orthodoxy that way, but to imply that that's some sort of implicit communion with the calendars is false.
Well, when he says that he's never broken,
you need to listen.
Diocese in 1976.
Alexander, you need to listen to Father Andrew's interview on Orthodox traditional
I've watched
publication.
it before, but I could definitely rewatch it.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
He was actually under Father Seraphim.
I'd like to take a shot at answering the question that he presented. I think that the main reason that there's something different between the 70s and today, if you look, you have the Assisi meeting in 1983, the glorification of the new martyrs in 1981, the chaos in the 80s that occurred in Greece, the sudden visibility of the Bulgarian and Romanian old true Orthodox, and others. All these things keep on snowballing forward. Remember, we talked about the monastery in Kobelskill, and it's beautiful and it's huge and it's wonderful. It didn't exist 15 years ago. You look at the Abbey of the Holy Name; it's big and beautiful, and it has a very nice cathedral. When I became part of our synod and was under Metropolitan John, it was basically a basement room. Like, that whole shell structure was basically storing things because a number of monks had passed and weren't able to finish building. Time changes things. When even 20 years ago, people thought that the church abroad was the bulwark of orthodoxy, but things have changed, and now there's different parts of the church abroad operating independently, whereas a whole chunk of it went to the Moscow Patriarchate. That was a huge dividing line that existed then. And now, I hate to say it, but True Orthodox communions, I don't hate to say it, I am proud to say it, True Orthodox communion now is prevalent and constant and all over the world. We don't have to keep pretending it's the 70s when we can just be the Orthodox.
And in your conversations, Alexander, with the hierarchy that you're dealing with, you can ask them ask them the same question. Where are you today versus 1970? and how would you address all the issues that Father Joseph just presented? And I would suspect that they might say, I don't know, that doesn't concern us. It's not a big issue with us. I mean, give me a good answer to your positions over these times and over these issues. And you got to push that on them and get a good answer. And I'm wondering, gee, what kind of an answer are you going to get? Because in the experience I've had with people who've been asking questions, they haven't gotten good answers, and a lot of the priests try and turn the page quickly, please. So, your homework would be to start asking those questions, and you want an answer about the history, start asking those people, and return to us and tell us what you came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will, and I appreciate that. I'm not, my goal here is to find the truth, and I know that the truth is Christ. And so if that's in old calendarism, then that's wherever Christ is, that's where I will be.
Well, if you one thing you could do is stop calling it old calendarism like it's some sort of ism, when in fact we're just preserving the Orthodox faith as it was.
Well, I hope you understand why, just from the standpoint of me being in World Orthodoxy, I can't concede on the point of you being inside of Orthodoxy and not being a group that may be inside of Orthodoxy, might not, but I can't define you as the only Orthodox, the true Orthodox.
Well,
we didn't split off from anyone.
Exactly.
What's that again, Reader John? What did you say?
Well, we didn't split off from anyone.
Oh,
the
yeah,
new
right,
calendars
right.
did.
Right. You have to put that question to them. Put them. Who's the schismatic? How come this one group was had their theology from the first century, and somehow some changes were made? Can you answer that and clarify that question for me and get an answer?
Like Father Boniface said, ask them to sort out what happened in the 20th century.
I will. Yeah, I will. If
you can always come back and take any observations that you get and bring it back to us.
Even if it's quite, contentious questions, please bring it up. We're ready for it. We have been always,
Well, would it be all right if we discuss Father Seraphim a little bit more?
Sure.
So when we talk about, Father Seraphim's spiritual children, I know you mentioned, I forget who it was that you mentioned.
Father Andrew Kensis.
Father Andrew, okay. There are also a multitude of Father Seraphim's spiritual children, Saint Seraphim's spiritual children, who are now in the new calendar.
I don't believe that. I think some of them are lying, actually, but there are some, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think anyone would deny that Hieromonk Ambrose, for example.
Right, but he was in the church abroad, and then he lent to the Antiochians and went kind of wacky. Father.
Now he's in the Goark.
Father, right? And I don't even. Is he? I think he's actually in his last. He's pretty old.
You're talking about Father Alexei, right?
Father, he's now Hieromonk Ambrose.
Hieromonk Ambrose, yeah, he's under the Greek Archdiocese, I believe now. But I could be wrong. But he's in the new calendar groups. So, yeah. I guess what would be the position on? I don't see how Father Andrew versus those people. I don't see how.
There's not. You mean Father Ambrose versus Father Hieromonk Ambrose? I mean Father. Father
Alexei at that point,
Andrew versus Hieromonk Ambrose.
Right.
Yeah, to stop this great crowd of witnesses stuff that you're doing. Like you just said, it's Father Andrew versus all of Father Seraphim's followers that were new calendars. I challenge that assertion, so stop sticking it in.
Okay, all I'm saying is that he has spiritual children on both sides of the equation. And so to me, it's not convincing to say, okay, he has a spiritual child who's an old calendarist. That doesn't.
Well, no, but we would also say that he was in communion with the old calendarist. He's with us, not with you.
But if his ecclesiology was.
Well, he reposed in 1982.
He reposed in 1982 in the
and his spiritual children at that time would have been in communion with him, correct? So what happened
would be in communion with him with the rope.
So what happened in the future is on that's on them.
These children can make up their own minds and go one way or the other.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it proves anything that there are more of them in the new calendar. I'm also just saying that it doesn't prove anything that there's one of them in the old calendar.
Well, it's not one of them, it's a lot of them. And more importantly, again, your framing is what bothers me. And you continually try to pretend that he's a new calendarist saint when in reality he wasn't and had no communion with you.
Well, I think he's a saint of the Roca, and I think that the Roca has, it's debatable where the Roca is now.
But it's not debatable where the Roca was then.
Right, and I think everybody recognizes that the Rocor was canonical when Father Seraphim and when Saint John.
Then you have a
then you accept True Orthodoxy.
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to stop him because he has a skewed view of what was happening back then. Back then, all the people like the new calendarists, etc., that you're trying to protect, etc., called Rocor schismatic.
I'm aware, but they were wrong.
There's no world Orthodox.
I mean, they even acknowledge they were wrong. Saint John is in the calendar of the Greek Archdiocese.
The Greek Archdiocese still
they still call him
the Archons
schismatic.
still call him schismatic while they say he's a saint.
Today?
Yes.
It's a good thing that the Archons aren't a synod, because that would be a huge issue.
No. I've had
parroting what their bishops say.
No. I've literally talked to a bishop, me personally, the one that's in charge of the Carpatho Russians.
Mm.
He said Rocor wasn't heresy, and that they venerate. He personally venerates Saint John, though he was a schismatic.
See, that makes no sense, right? We all see that makes
well,
no
I mean, he comes from the Greek
you have
Archdiocese.
to explain it. You have to explain this cognitive dissonance here.
Well, what I can say is that the Greek Archdiocese was wrong in recognizing a Rocor as schismatic. So was
but they still do it.
They still do it because they endorse the Renovationists.
But I don't think that on a synodal level they still do. I mean, it's
literally on a synodal level.
Even if they do, I don't think that local synods are infallible. So a local synod can err, which they did. I mean, Moscow erred, Serbia erred, Jerusalem erred when they declared Rocor to be schismatic at the behest.
You're using Roman Catholic language like infallible. The job of the Orthodox Synod and the Orthodox Bishop is to preach orthodoxy. What you're saying is they weren't preaching orthodoxy, which would make them heretics, but now they do. And that's not true.
So you're retroactively and unilaterally declaring robber synods?
Well, I just think it's clear. I mean, there's no way that you could recognize a saint who was in schism. That doesn't make any sense.
But they do. That's literally what they do. And they literally do that with those other...
I don't think he's formally on their calendar, is he?
No, he is. He is.
But here's the other thing. Remember how this started with the whole Athenites, so on and so forth, and how they have mutual veneration, but then we pointed out that the veneration that they have is based on fabrications? Aren't you seeing a pattern?
You know what's interesting? They actually have a iconography of Saint Seraphim Rose in Moscow, but Saint Seraphim would have never been caught dead being in communion with them. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, well, it's ironic when you think about it, because the reason he was so popular in Russia was due to Samizdat publications. Like, there were underground publications that became hugely popular in Russia, even among the Moscow Patriarchate, which kind of forced them to kind of have to acknowledge this veneration and then make up the claims that they are now.
And even St. John of Shanghai, San Francisco, called out the Moscow Patriarchate and the decline of the ecumenical patriarch. You know,
you gotta look at principles.
History's messy, isn't it?
Well, I mean, so you think that if an Orthodox synod makes the wrong decision on ecclesiology, that would make them outside of the church?
If it's heresy, what do you mean by a wrong decision?
So just to give a specific example from history, when the Serbian synod declared the Rocor under Metropolitan Anastasi to be schismatic at the behest of the Moscow Patriarchate, does that just?
I mean, hear yourself speak here, man.
You're leading yourself. You're leading yourself to answer your own question, is what follows.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you if that makes them an invalid synod just because they decided something that's wrong. They misunderstood the ecclesiology.
Well,
Well,
if
if
you
you're
follow the history on that, you'd know that the monasteries largely started breaking off when they started doing things like that and refusing to commune them and effectively non-commemorating. That was already occurring in Serbia during this period because of stuff like that.
Yep.
Right, but I would, that seems like a proper reaction to a synod that's fallen into error, is you would stop commemorating
It's a heresy,
to call them out of the ecclesiological error that they've fallen into.
It would
Well,
be
it depends
the
who you're
heresy.
answering to as well.
What do you mean?
Didn't Serbia have a shifting view of the Moscow Patriarchate?
Well, they certainly changed their view on the Rokor and whether the Moscow Patriarchate was the mother church of the Rokor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I feel like you're answering your own questions here.
Well, I don't see it the same way. I don't see that just because a local synod has a wrong understanding of ecclesiology, I don't think that means that they're outside the church.
Right, but there's consequences to that. They just de-recognized the Rokor. Think about that.
The funny thing is you're taking the position of Rokor at the time, which was True Orthodox.
Which was the position that they were not schismatic, but I don't think that they denied the grace in the Serbian.
Yeah, but you're looking from the 21st century back. You're not putting yourself in the position of what happened at the time.
Well, what do you mean? In what way?
So at that time, Rokor had nothing to do with the Moscow Patriarchate, right?
Right.
And the different patriarchs, their views were shifting because they were getting certain messages from outside of Russia, right?
Yeah,
and things don't travel instantaneously like it does now, right? So there was mixed messages about how things were going in Russia, and I mean, you got to remember, like, Rokor had a home in Constantinople for a while, and then they had a home in Serbia for a while, and they were welcomed at the time, but views changed over time from different information that was coming out of Russia, how they fell in and out of favor with persons in Constantinople. I mean, once you get into the history of it, it's very, 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 very messy. And eventually it just, the easier position was just to condemn Rokor versus deal with the nuances of what was really happening in Russia versus the propaganda that was coming out of Russia.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that they made the wrong decision, and I do think it was based on pressure from Moscow and propaganda from Sergianus.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of if that makes them outside the church, and what St. Philaret. I don't think that's, at least that's not my reading of St. Philaret.
I don't think that they viewed the Serbians as outside the church, but that there were reactions in Serbia that would continue all the way up until the primacy of Patriarch Pavel. So, the point is, when you're dealing with a global conflict, when it comes to things like ecumenism, where they were also looking at funding from these other
patriarchates,
other patriarchates, and also the patriarchates themselves were looking for funding from these ecumenical organizations. They were dealing with their own situations with that, and oftentimes they started taking a more compromised position. But this is something, this happened over decades. But the whole point is to look at the church history of the 20th century from, for lack of a better word, such a marketed lens as is presented by the modernists now. It deletes so much history that it's hard to say.
And there's even Protestants in the mix. Have you ever read that book, The Baptists and the Bolsheviks?
I haven't read that. No.
Oh yeah, the Baptists helped fund the Bolsheviks because they hated Orthodoxy.
And that was a pretty bad investment on their part. But
yeah.
In any case,
yeah, but you don't hear about that now. So.
Yeah.
It's not what they tell you; it's what they don't tell you. And you'll find that with the priests. It's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you. And
Yeah,
then when
that's
you ask them questions about what they don't want to tell you, that does not make them happy.
Like I said, history is messy, and the deeper you dig into it, it's at some point you're gonna have to start like writing down plot lines to follow all this.
Yeah, because you're dealing with a global mess. It's,
Yeah.
it's a global spread of heresy and a global. There's global confusion. That's why looking for a simple cutoff, like okay, it was in 1920, it doesn't reflect reality.
Yeah, because for some it was the lifting of the anathemas. For some it was the change of the calendar. For some it was Patriarch Demetrius. I think he actually communed with the Pope, I believe.
Yeah, there were
And
waves of True Orthodox, people coming over to the True Orthodox. So it wasn't just a simple one thing.
Yeah. In other words, you can't you can't reduce it. You know, you can't always reduce it to just one issue. Could be a major issue, but you can't reduce it simply to that. There's a lot, and I've said this previous in our conversation. There's a lot of other issues that are flying around that become a whole package deal. And that's why you've got to ask a lot of questions. That's kind of been my road through Protestantism and is get the whole picture, not just a couple bits, and then make my decision. I had to take a holistic approach and then jump, let's say, from one type of faith to the next until I finally, came where I am now. But you need to look at the whole picture.
What were you saying, Alexander?
Oh no, I was just saying I hadn't heard that before. That Patriarch Demetrius communed with the Pope and not just listed him in the diptychs. He actually communed at a liturgy. Is that the accusation?
Oh, did I say communion? I mean in communion. Sorry.
Well, I mean that's very much the same thing, of course, from the Orthodox standpoint. But do you mean that he commemorated him, or he?
Yeah, he did. They commemorate him every year. They have for 50, 60 years now.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, being in World Orthodoxy, the number of people who were freaking out about the recent meeting between Patriarch Bartholomew and and the Roman Catholics, because
that's been happening
really
for
the
60
same
years.
thing they've been doing since 65 at least.
Right, but the whole point is that they were marketed as not doing that thing, and a lot of these new converts don't know that, and they have to get a whole bunch of explaining to and justifications for why this evil action is perfectly okay, and that should bother the consciences of those who know better.
What if they change the date of Pascha, or like they're planning on like finding a common date? Is that a red line for you?
Actually going to happen?
Oh, I think it very much could.
I think it would.
It's been so long.
Here, let me put it to you this way. On the Roman Catholic side, they really have no concept of Minea, Paschalia, etc.
Yeah, they don't care.
None. So if the Pope declares that this is going to be the date of Pascha, and he puts it on the traditional Julian date while retaining the new calendar, they won't have a problem with it. And
most Joe Blow Catholics wouldn't even.
Well, December might be, or Nativity might be a bigger problem, right?
Well, Nativity's already, for the new calendars, it's already united with the Roman Catholics.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
and feast days too.
If they were to change it to the old calendar date, that would be a bigger issue for them.
Well, they just have to change Pascha.
Right, yeah. Well, that's the problem with...
Because Pascha and Pentecost are movable feasts, so if they change it to the Julian reckoning, no one in the Roman Catholic Church is going to care.
Right.
So then you'd all have one calendar together.
And then Protestants wouldn't care because they just follow the Catholics.
Yep. And that's how the religion of the future is made.
Yep.
Ta-da.
Oh.
Good luck with that, though.
I would pray on him, brother. And I keep looking at the nuances of history. And like Father Boniface said, take it holistically,
Yeah. I don't want to open another can of worms, so maybe this is for another time. So if there's not a lot of time left, and we could talk about this another time if it's possible for me to come back on.
Honestly, we would love to have you back on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And so you are always welcome here, Alexander.
Thank you for being charitable.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I know there's only like 1 minute left, I think. So I just want to say, I really appreciate you taking the time. I have a lot of admiration for the things that I've learned from people that are old calendarists, and the aspects of true Orthodox tradition that I've learned from people in your groups. And I have a lot of respect for the fidelity to that tradition that I see every time I speak with you, every time that I listen to things that your hierarchs say. I am blown away by the love for Christ that I see. So thank you.
We'll keep praying for you, Alexander. You have a great night, and God bless you. In the name of the
Thank
Father,
you.
Son, and the Holy Spirit.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, well, that was interesting, and it got right to the end. Once again, we did make the total, so thank you so much to everybody. So just I'll play it one more time. Why not? Why not?
Winning.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, should I do it again?
I didn't hear it. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Hold on, let's try it again. That's weird that you didn't.
I heard it.
I heard it. Yeah.
Maybe I need to refresh.
Winning. Did you hear
No,
that?
see, I still didn't. No, I didn't hear it.
That's
I don't
weird.
know. Maybe it's me. It's me.
It could just be the audio setup, but in any case,
Whatever.
Reconquista. Whoa, Father. Off-topic thoughts on passport bros bringing more traditional women, which will eventually go against the Western women mindset. I have 30 seconds.
Drop that at the end.
As long as they're Orthodox, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let me read. I have to say my goodbyes, guys, and thank you to everyone, to our guests, to Reader John and Father Boniface for being here for to help and to assist with making this channel what it is. Thank you to Alexander for his deep questions. I don't know if anyone showed up. I don't know if there's no Barnold versus Matt this week, but Barnold was here. But to our listeners, to those who had questions and had asked questions and had comments, and to those who support our mission, support the channel. We at NFTU need your help. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net or on GiveSendGo. We remember all of you in our prayers, and thank you all for the support for NFTU. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Through the prayers of Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us.
Amen.